And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, angels and demons and monsters and serpents. This is Brothers of the Serpent podcast, and we are coming to you live from the 10x10x10 Kent Tangent Cube of Science, where we are nestled amongst the dusty bones of an ancient seabed high atop the Edwards Plateau. We recently experienced an eclipse, which we had a fantastic, an amazing Eclipse of the Canyon event, and Ben from UnchartedX was there at the event, and so here he is in studio for the first time. Yeah, buddy. You've been on the show how many times, and here you are.
Not the most as some other people, from what I understand. But yeah, it's great. Yeah. I've been meaning to get out here for a couple of years, it feels like.
Yeah. Yeah, it's fantastic to have you out here. So you're seeing the dusty hills.
The dusty hills.
Yeah.
The Everett Plateau. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was awesome. I enjoyed the drive out. It was like 1,800 miles for me. So we did it in 2 days, which is a feat I don't want to repeat anytime soon.
Yeah.
I'm going to take a little longer than that to drive back. But, yeah, it was good though. I've been, hadn't done the great US road trip just yet, and I managed to. I think I drove pretty much halfway across the country through four states. So.
That qualifies as a great US road trip. Yeah. But only half of one.
True. Well, add them together, we'll get close.
Right. Yeah. So the I can just start with the eclipse. What an amazing. Overall, the whole event, of course, we had music, we did presentations. Ben did a fantastic one. Luke, our buddy Luke Caverns, who's been on the show multiple times, did an excellent presentation on the Olmec. Some of that stuff I'd never seen before. It was really cool.
I learned a bunch with his presentation. Yeah, it's something I'm like, okay, I need to pay a bunch more attention to this now.
Yeah,
great.
For sure.
Yeah.
And, like I said, Ben did a good one. Kyle and I did one. It was kind of like we almost basically just did a live podcast. We sat up there on stage and talked back and forth about new things that we just saw and thought about Egypt, which is what we're going to do this episode. Also, we want to take you guys' questions. Kyle's still, what are you doing? He's still
just making sure it's all mixed.
He's doing technical stuff over here.
Ben was a little quiet.
Am I? Yeah.
Just compared to us, we're like, it's better.
You fixed it?
All right.
Okay, good.
I don't know there's latency, but anyways, it should be good.
Yeah, man.
Don't mind me, boys.
I had not. So I had not experienced an eclipse. You see partial ones or here and there, but that was something else. We were, you guys. It was funny. We've been talking about it for a while, obviously, and then in Egypt, and I was like, I'm looking forward to this so much. And you even then were like, it might be cloudy.
Yeah, like hopefully it's not cloudy.
These guys are stressing out about it being cloudy.
Yes.
And we had beautiful weather for a couple of days.
Yep. It was perfect.
The eclipse days.
Yep.
But the eclipse day, it was cloudy. It was, but Colin and I talked about this too. It almost added to the experience. It added, it would come out behind the clouds as, because it's like an hour-long process as the moon starts crossing in front of the sun, and it's just, you'd see it for a while, and it'd be in a gap in the clouds, and you're just staring at the clouds, and there's 2 layers of clouds that are moving in different directions, and then it would peel open. And then during the actual totality, it was just magically, just it opened up. Like the sky, there was a big hole in the sky, and you just had that full totality. You're just staring right at you, and it was
that was intense.
Quite an experience. I was like, man, okay.
People were shouting and cheering and screaming and crying. Yeah, not only all the people.
I was one of those people crying.
I heard people across the road and at other properties doing it. I bet the entire state, everybody in our area, because of course it's different wherever you are, but people all over the place. That was wild to see that. We were just like, man, because the last thing we had seen was this little tiny crescent, and then it just vanished behind really dark clouds. Right. Like the clouds had been light colored and sort of silvery gray, and then suddenly this dark group of clouds, and of course it was getting darker the whole time. So it was very eerie, and it kept getting darker, and I'm like, okay, that's probably it. Nope, it gets darker again. I'm like, okay, and then it's darker again, and then finally this hole just appears in multiple cloud layers, and bam, it's just sitting there glowing in flames coming off the side, and just
somebody say the devil's anus appears in the sky.
Yeah, the devil's anus. Yeah.
It was magic. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it was.
It was 100% magical.
The festival itself I had such a phenomenal time. I thought it was really well put together. Laura did an amazing job organizing that, and all the people that helped as well. We had a great staff, great venue. The music, you guys were epic. Like, so
Oh,
that's the
thank
other
you.
part of this, the Dynasty show, right? This is the
Yeah.
album part. When did you
Yes.
release the album, Kyle?
It was like 2 years ago. Album release
release
party
party.
just happened. It's like, yeah, we get stuff done in this band.
Yeah. Yeah.
But no, it was an honor to do the release party in that setting. That was actually really cool. I mean, all these people who, so many of them have been friends because of other events that we've done and tours and whatnot, and bringing all the people together there, and of course the Eclipse, and having the presentations and just that whole vibe to do that for the release party rather than just like go to some club and play.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
In a festival like that built up around it.
Yeah.
I mean, it was, and you guys, I mean, it was an incredible show. I loved it. Like,
Awesome.
And Ben came up with us and
I did,
and rocked out. We Kyle and Ben and I did like a along with
Jam session one night.
with Wade, who was drumming for us on the kit. The four of us, did the Deos like drum session, and that was absolutely epic. I mean, just Ben came up for the beginning of the song, and him and I sat there doing the djembe part, right? And Kyle's doing all the vocals or whatever, and the guitarists are building it up. Ty and William are building up the guitar part, and of course GMA's back there on the bass, just laying it down. And Wade is drumming with us, and then like Wade starts hitting the snare, bah, when the snare comes in, and then Kyle puts the mic down and grabs this big. Was it a kick drum?
I guess it was like a kick. I don't know. Oliver brought him.
Laying it sideways. He had huge mallets, and he's like, boof, boof. We just start
bent over.
God, it's rocking it, dude. The whole stage is vibrating. Oh my God, it was fantastic.
Yeah, those are like some kind of drums that you hold with the strap. You strap
like
onto yourself.
Yeah,
like
or something.
Like this massive bass drum. It was great.
We play. So people are asking which song. We played them all. We played the whole album,
all the way through,
through in order that they are on the album, and then we finished it up with some Pink Floyd.
Yeah,
one cover of Pink Floyd. So it was fun. Yeah, that was it. And of course, again, thanks to Laura for all the organization. Darren and Graham from Grimerica, they were involved in it, and they came all the way down from Canada and helped out.
Darren's really the ideas guy behind the whole thing. He's just like, we got to do this.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, he's kind of useless otherwise, but I saw Graham helping you do stuff, And then, of course, we also have to thank, and many of you that listen to the show have heard us talk about the propanator. Oh, propanator! It was his property. Propanator. So Propane Depot.
He's an excellent live sound engineer.
Yeah, and he did the live sound, the lights.
Yeah,
yeah. So I mean, not only an event coordinator and property owner, but just all around handyman. But he also was fantastic at running the sound.
Yeah.
So yeah, thanks, propanator. Also heard he's good at sim racing.
Yeah, he might be quite good at sim racing.
Yeah,
he races with like Formula One people.
Yeah, he has a kick-ass like custom setup. Yeah,
yeah,
but
it's a whole new level.
We're gonna kick his ass.
You're gonna destroy him.
We do a weekly lobby.
We do.
He said he's going to join.
He did. He said he's going to join. Yeah, we'll see what happens.
See where he goes.
Yeah, we basically have been living together for 6 weeks.
Yeah, more than that. Yeah. We're like Ben's joined the family.
Yeah.
We're all brothers now.
Now living out of my car here officially.
So Laura, Snake Wife, wants everyone to know like that this event was so much fun that next year she wants to do another one. There's no Eclipse, obviously, but she's just like, this was amazing. Let's put together another event. So she says the tickets are going on sale soon, Friday the 12th. She says more entertainment will be added to the lineup. We're working on extending the event an extra day and adding in a day outing, some hiking or biking or going on the river or something. So stay
Garner's
tuned.
Nearby.
Yeah, Garner State Park is nearby. So it was just so much fun to meet everybody and hang out and, just, of course, all the conversations because everyone's Brothers of the Serpent or Grimerica or UnchartedX or Luke Caverns or Dave. I also meant to mention Dave Matheson was there. Matheson was there.
He got up and jammed the didgeridoo.
Yeah, he was didgeridoo. He gave, his star presentation, giving people, orienting them to the night sky. And so it was all great. So,
technically, we played 2 shows.
We did.
We did jam the night
because the first night there was supposed to be like an open jam session, and there wasn't. I guess the way it worked out was I was told get up there and jam. And I was like, all right,
yeah.
So I grabbed these guys and Daniel and
we had
Suede.
We had Dozer Dan, Bassman Dan,
Yeah,
jamming
and
out.
we
with
just
us.
like got up there and made up about 30 minutes of music, just like all right, just funking out. And
1 16-minute song down.
yeah, it's like let's make this song as long as possible.
Yeah.
No lyrics, just instrumental. And then Dave came up, played the didgeridoo, and another guy came up and played the washed up bass.
Oh yeah, that
The
was
keg bass or whatever it was.
Yeah, that was amazing.
Yeah, that was cool. So we had a good jam sesh.
Yeah. I think Troy. We had a super chat from Troy.
Yes.
Let me read that real quick. We're letting stuff slide here. Troy, $10 says first live since Egypt. Can't wait to hear about the Eclipse event as well. Well, thanks, Troy.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Well,
thanks, man.
you should mention also, and I was astounded by the quality that there's also stand-up comedians. We had a stand-up comedies. We had a couple sets of stand-up comedians.
They killed it.
And I want to shout Ollie. Ollie's been on these events. He cooks for us. He works his butt off making all the food for the VIP side of things where they were catered. And he's been on a couple. I've known him on a couple of these events, and he went up and he told me before he does stand up.
They asked him like, "Hey, you got to."
Yeah, he was hilarious.
And then all the comedians were phenomenal. Like very, I mean, the magic that topped that off after the the music show going there and.
Yeah, late night
comedy,
crammed us all in this little room with the tape. We were all close, and it was great.
I love stand-up comedy.
Owen Hunt was there. He did some stand-up, and Owen is one of the ones that does the Magic on the Mountain events with Grimerica. So
cool.
Yeah,
I didn't.
So I had met him before. Yeah, he's cool. Yeah,
awesome.
He does the sort of. Don't hate me, Owen, because I can't remember. I don't want to get this wrong, but he does like sort of like a kind of he doesn't do the grimoire magic. Right, which is what you're talking about, like old school, like, tell me your name, demon. He does the other stuff, the more chaos magic where you're sort of manifesting things.
Yeah.
So he's done the Magic on the Mountain stuff, and he also is a stand-up, so he did the stand-up too. And I don't know the other guy. What were they?
Bravery, pure bravery.
Total bravery.
Dude, outrageously inappropriate. It was great. It was like the right comedians for the right crowd too.
Yeah.
It was fantastic.
Yeah, it was so much fun. Yeah. And camping. That's what was it, 4? We camped 4 or 5 days, maybe? Something?
Friday night through
it's a blur.
Tuesday-ish.
Yeah, Kyle doesn't know.
I don't know.
Yeah, pretty sure you were wearing the same clothes about 3 days ago. Like, has he even slept?
Yeah. Does he sleep?
Does he sleep? I just see him running around fixing stuff or playing with this.
Yep. Yeah.
I thought the same thing about Oliver. I was just like, dude, like, I would stay up super late with him and then go to bed, and then I'd wake up, the coffee was done, the breakfast already been cooked. I'm just like, good grief, man.
Yeah, I know, right? I don't know what he runs on.
Okay, so last episode, we were talking with Ben, remotely about Egypt, and when we were finishing the conversation, we were like, well, there's still plenty of things to discuss. Oh. And now he's here with us, and we're just like, well, let's get in the studio and continue our conversation from last week. So one of the things I did want to mention, and I've been going back and forth on how to talk about this, because I'm not really clear on a lot of the things that I saw, but I climbed the well shaft in the Great Pyramid.
He did.
And we've been talking about this for years, and I know, many of you who listen to the show know, because Kyle's mentioned, like, I want to climb this shaft and get up there. But it's like, for some reason, when we get in the pyramid, there's we're hosts, there's lots of stuff to do, and like we're leading people up and to the king's chamber, or then we take them down to the subterranean chamber or whatever, and like you keep looking at this little side tunnel that goes into the well shaft, and we're like, man, that looks really tough. And you have to crawl through some rubble to get in there, and maybe I don't have a good enough flashlight this time. But this time so we went through the first tour, and I was doing this. I was looking at it, and I'm like, seems hard. I'm tired. I don't know. The second time we went into the Great Pyramid, I was just like, you know what? I got to do this. Like, I have to do it. And I specifically, I didn't go running all over the place in the pyramid first and get myself tired. I went up we went up into the king's chamber, came back down. I went into the queen's chamber. I did some talking in there about the queen's chamber shafts and telling the Gantenbrink story and everything. And then Ben and I came outside. Ben was already near the entrance. We both went out, and we climbed up to the original entrance. Which,
We
Kyle,
did, yeah.
Kyle, I've got. I gave you the
pictures of that.
Yeah, I got a couple of pictures if you can pull them up.
Yep.
I don't know.
Sure.
But yeah, so it's this is the thing with. I can't remember if we talked about this last week or not, but it doesn't matter.
I don't think so.
So you're not supposed to climb around on the outside of the pyramid, right? And we're doing this at night because this is a special permission. So the plateau is closed, but we have permission. Our group specifically has permission to go in. We get through. We get onto the plateau. We drive up really close to the Great Pyramid, and then we're just supposed to climb up and go in Mamun's hole, which is the way that tourists enter the pyramid today.
You ready for me to show this?
Yeah, go ahead and pull it up. So this is the, you guys are probably familiar with this giant chevron blocks here right over the original main entrance, or at least the known main entrance of the pyramid. And there's this
just below this is like the door. There's like a steel grate and like a walkway, and there's a locked like iron grate, and that's where that descending passage exits the pyramid. It's 400 feet odd straight down to the bottom from there, and this sits above that.
Yeah. So first of all, just speaking in terms of construction, these chevron blocks are very interesting in terms of structure. This double chevron right over the entrance here is just, I don't know, I find it fascinating. These blocks would not have been visible in the completed structure. They're beautiful, but they would have been hidden completely.
Yep.
That is how you relieve pressure.
Yeah.
From a chamber.
Yeah.
Very easily.
Yeah, it's similar chevron blocks at the top of above the King's Chamber, for that matter. The limestone blocks at the top of the top chamber. They're also chevron blocks like this. But yeah, we don't know. These blocks specifically would have been visible, but we don't actually know what was in front of it. Like this, I don't know if there's any records, if there was like a mechanism there, because the interesting thing is there does seem to be some evidence that there was some sort of mechanism here, based on what I wanted to get up there to look at, that I know is just up here at this main entrance.
Yeah, that's right. I guess real quick, we did miss another super chat. I'm sorry. I meant to mention this one too. King Fuji, $10 says, clouds broke right before totality for me as well in the Dallas area. I've heard multiple people across the country say the same thing. Is there any way the drastic change in solar light could cause this? Yes. Actually, when I read some Space Weather News on our live podcast at the event, and one of the things that is happening is there's this shadow of the moon crossing, the surface of the planet, and it's moving a relative 1,500 miles per hour, but it's bringing with it a kind of a column of cold air. The temperature will drop between, they said that it's been measured 8 to 15 degrees in this shadow of the moon, and that causes a whole bunch of air currents. And of course, if you have cloud cover, and the cloud cover is there due to a specific atmospheric condition of heat and humidity, then dropping the temperature like that can, not always, but can cause the clouds to disperse briefly, just like sort of turning your AC on to get rid of fogginess on your windshield can do that. Just like it'll just clear that fog off real quick. It can also have the reverse effect. It can cause the clouds to show up more. It just depends on the atmospheric conditions. But there's this really cool graphic that was made showing how the shadow passes across. There was a set of clouds, a band of clouds there, and when the shadow goes across, the clouds they thin out, and then after the shadow passes, they thicken up again, right? Just the effect of it. So yeah, it could cause it, and it may have. I don't know. But okay, so let's go back to this entrance. We were looking at this picture. I wanted to mention this strange.
It didn't work.
What? Oh, what do you show? Yeah, there we go.
I was trying to get a better full screen of it, but
yeah. Can people see the arrow here? Yeah, this right here has always been weird.
Yeah,
I think this is a strange.
That's the spot, right? That they drilled through.
Yeah,
that's where they put that endoscope in to find that one of the new chambers revealed by the Scan Pyramids project. So just below that chevron.
That's what I'm talking about. Those are.
So just below this, like they drilled up into here somewhere.
Yep. Yeah. I think that's where it was.
Yeah. Those things are. I don't know what they are, but those are the only known carved sort of features on the entire pyramid at this point, because they're not blocks, you know.
Right, but they look. I mean, you could say that the what is the chamber right before the antechamber has some similar stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Well, you should have said it because it took me a while. Wasting time over.
Oh, you mean like it might be some kind of functional?
Has that like a grid pattern carved into it. The blocks in the antechamber with the the ventings, and then there's the nub up there. I mean, there's some carved. There are some of those carved features there, but it is interesting that this is on the outside. But
what is this question? Which pyramid did Ramses II build?
None as far
all
as
of them.
All of them.
There you go. Sure, he's probably had his name on them at some point.
Right. Thanks, Lee.
Taking stone from the middle pyramid. We know this.
Yeah, that's right. But this feature is just, I don't know. I see what you guys are saying. But this almost that almost looks like it's supposed to mean something. Like, you know, it isn't really. It could be like teeth from a gear, or like two buildings or two mountains in the distance, or I know, like, you know, you want to come up with some idea of what this is, but it's just strange looking to me.
I agree. And again, I think there's indication that there was some sort of mechanism here in front of this that might have had something to do with that door, the descending passage, because, you know, the reason we got up there is because there's a granite block up here that very few people know about. I think History for Granite's done a good job looking at it, but I've known about it for a while too, and I've tried to get up there before, and I've taken some sort of shaky cell phone camera footage of this granite block, which we'll get to. But one of the challenges with doing this, and often the chances you get to, this is all off limits now. You in the back in the day, I think 2016, you could, even as recently as that, you could walk up here. Like, it's the same, you know, they've got the concrete stairs that run up to the main entrance. Those extend up. They've just put a gate in the way now, and it goes up and around to that main entrance, and you used to be able to just walk up there and look at it, and now it's all just off limits, and then you end up visiting this stuff late at night for that's probably a good picture to share. You go up there at night time. I mean, if for a special permission visit, of course, you talk to the guys, and they're like, yeah, okay, you can go up there, but like no lights, because it's the police on the plateau. There's plenty of guys out there, and if they start to see lights, you know. A bunch of courses up the pyramid, they start to get pretty excited. Like,
that's right.
Bust for trying to climb it. So you climb over in the dark, and then it was nice because Russ was there, and one of us could shine a light on it. And there's a granite block right near the top of the main entrance. This is it here.
Yeah.
It's one of the few granite blocks that's on the outside of the pyramid. Well, one of the only ones really today. There's more of these inside, but it happens to have 3 of these just massive tube drills in it. This is one of the things that I talked about in my presentation at the Eclipse event is the association that the Great Pyramid actually has with tubular drills. The use of tubular drills is not, people don't associate that technology so much with the Great Pyramid, but there's actually a whole bunch of different examples of these in the pyramid, and one of the best examples is here at this block at the entrance. And now this is not like for decoration, right? This is a functional block. This is probably in its original location. It's been quarried. You can see that block's been split like you often see along the axis of the hole because it's weak through the stone, so they're trying to take a piece of granite and they split the block along that axis. But then there's other blocks behind it. We don't know what was in front of it, and there's a space on the other side of the rail or the passage that goes down to the descending passage where one of these blocks may have also existed. So assuming that these holes are functional, which I think it's quite obvious they were, then they may have been part of some sort of mechanism or something that was going on at the front door, basically, to the pyramid.
Yeah, like some kind of rotating prism block or whatever. Something like that.
This,
because the other thing, you can't really see it in this picture or the other pictures that I have of this, and it was difficult to take good photos because, like we were saying, we're up there in the dark. Right here, we're down in what amounts to like the beginning of the descending passage, but we're still in the open air outside the pyramid. But because we've gone down in behind some blocks, Ben is able to shine his light here.
I can't see.
I would imagine this is probably obvious, but it's got to be associated with the door because there's motion in the door. The door's going to be moving.
Yeah,
and you know,
rotating
the limestone, like a heavy limestone block or something, rotating on another limestone block is going to just grind it away.
Yeah.
Some pivot.
Whereas
point
if you had a granite door and granite, lintel or whatever the where the hinges are.
Exactly.
And Petrie talked about that there would be a prism block there that you could put just like it would be balanced in such a way where you could put the right amount of weight against it and lift it up and give you a passage in. Yeah.
Like it was meant to be opened and closed.
Yeah, exactly.
But the other thing I want to point out about this entrance is that all around the outside of the pyramid, you see, the layers, the
courses.
Each courses, but right here where the descending passage starts, all of these blocks around that are basically part of the structure of the descending passage itself are tilted in the angle of the passage itself. Yeah. So there's this very steep ramp, going. That's where that block is sitting on this ramp going down towards where the passage itself is. But not just the passage blocks itself, but a whole bunch of them are all tilted and angled inward to dive down through the pyramid courses and then into the bedrock. There's a. But I've got other pictures. Ben was talking about the core drills. We took some. Yeah, there's me. So what I did, this was difficult to get up here, but I climbed. We went down those steeply tilted blocks, and then I clambered up to actually get right up next to those chevrons and that weird, whatever it is, the two, the two buildings or the whatever the shape there, and felt around in the dark because Ben was saying that maybe that there was a hole there that they had drilled, but we were looking for it and I couldn't really find anything. Of course, it's also pitch black. So.
I had heard somebody had actually opened this up and that there was enough space for a small person to get into that chamber that's behind there, but that doesn't seem to be the case.
Maybe this block has been removed and put back in place.
But I was basically standing on that block that you're pointing at there, standing right below those chevrons.
But you can, the tube drill itself is really interesting in that granite block as well. If you go to, there's a great picture of the this one here.
Look how long this
split tube. It's a very long tube drill, which is.
Somebody asked what's the width, like 4 inches, maybe? You think?
Yeah, that's
4-inch diameter,
4-inch tube drill, right? Yeah, and then and it's just deep grooves and striations like you typically see with these types of tube drills. It's just and the length of it is really interesting because one of the things that we see from the cores that come out of these holes that are. There's a whole bunch of them that are at the in the Petrie Museum and also in the other museums, which are essentially pieces of scrap material. Right, this is stuff that they weren't after the core that comes out of this. They were after the hole left behind by the process, and they just throw the core out and just presumably leave it on the ground or whatever. But a lot of those cores are tapered slightly, so they're thicker at the bottom than they are at the top, which could be slop in the process. It could be anything. It might indicate a tapered tool. But when you see something that's this length, and then we see other indications of very long tubular drills, or at least a drilling process, with the work you guys are doing with the unfinished presentation, right, where they mark the corners and then drill down, and then cut the walls back to those points, which gives you those around the corner block styles. Yeah, it seems to me like this is some tool. I mean, some sophisticated tool is doing this that they could drill long holes like this. It's fascinating. Then the other two holes behind it are just filled up with debris and sand. You can't really see them, but at least this one is a really interesting.
And look at the depth and the size of these striations. This is not like tiny little grinding marks,
which you get from
the grinding process. These are, those are easily visible. Like the stuff that Petrie was saying about it, like some jeweled tip just plowed through the material here is what it looks like, right? We don't know that for certain, but that is definitely what it looks like, what it appears to be.
You don't get this result. I mean, there's been a bunch. It's what Dennis Stocks, the experimental archaeologist, who says, well, this is all done with copper tubes and like a bow drill and a rock on top of it or whatever to weigh it down. And he's done the experiment. No one's ever seen a good photo of the core he snapped out of it in that one documentary he produced on it. Plus, he has a low-res picture of it in his book, which is also, you can't make out any striations like this. Chris Dunn did the experiment. He took a copper tube and drilled and ground through rock with granite with it. It basically polishes up that surface. And then there was a study in the early 80s done by some people out of Penn State where they used 4 or 5 different compounds and I guess grinding compounds, sand, and then like some sort of silica carbide thing, and they looked at the nubs because they didn't drill a hole, they kind of drilled down a protrusion of granite to look at the outside so you could see it.
Okay.
So it's like a core that's open, and they didn't they left it attached, and then they looked at it under a microscope, and it's just the finest of concentric lines. There's no spiral. It's a very fine, grinding process. So it's a different signature. It's a different tool. And then this is what I talked about at the summit. I wanted to get back into these core drills or tubular drills because there's been some new work done on these in terms of the analysis of them, and there's been a lot more people. So everyone knows it well. A couple of people have looked at them. Chris Dunn's looked at them, but there's more people than that. There's an aerospace engineer named Eric Wilson who has also been to the Petrie Museum and done this test. He's done the cotton thread wrap test, where you just you look at it under magnification and you very carefully wrap a cotton thread in a spiral groove.
Spiral groove.
He went down like 12 revolutions. He got bored.
Yeah, he's like, it's a spiral.
This is a spiral.
Yeah.
And then he said, well, what else is in his museum? And he grabbed a few of the other cores. There's some basalt cores and other granite cores, and he did the same test, and it's like the same result. They are spiral.
Yeah,
there's no question. And now I've. In the last couple of years, I've got some really awesome photogrammatical 3D scans of holes, of the holes left by a tubular drill, that I think you can now, because this, really high resolution, you can get, something else I learned recently is that you can actually get very precise results from photogrammetry.
Mm-hmm.
But it should be good, and it looks like it's good enough with these models where we can unfold them and start to look at if these holes also show, a spiral pattern to these deep striations, which I suspect they do. And when you eyeball them, they kind of do. And obviously, you need to look at complete holes. It's a little harder to look at like a partial hole like this one. But I've got these models, and it's one of those things that are on the to-do list to get more into it. But
can I request a spoiler, because you gave the presentation at the at the Eclipse event? But what was the point? Tell us the point about the when the standard model says these drill cores were made, and like when the pyramid was made.
What's the point? Well, so the controversy around the tubular drills is, and what I've always found odd, and this has been going on for more than 100 years, is that the standard model and the people that are, I guess, in charge of that or behind it will never admit that this is spiral. Like there seems to be a concerted effort to never admit that there is a spiral groove on core number 7.
That one, yes, but
what's the point of it?
Specifically about I thought you made a point about when they think these tubular drills started, and then what date the pyramid they say was made.
I think that's part of the reason why there's a strong resistance. It's the implications of what it means. It's because the problem with it being a spiral groove, and this is why in Stocks's book he says, note the circular or concentric lines or the horizontal grooves. It's the same as the old cores, and these guys that did the study in the 83 book, they were literally trying to settle a scholarly debate that was being held between Petrie and his peers who were arguing about the same damn thing. He's saying it's spiral, they're saying it can't be. And, they don't even mention the word spiral. They just say, oh, these concentric lines look the same as Petrie's core, which they have a picture of it in the paper, and it doesn't look anything like it. It's kind of funny that I'm like, really? You just look at it. You can tell it's not the same thing. But the problem is because it's spiral, and this is Petrie says this in his book. He calculates the penetration rate.
How deep it goes.
60. Yeah, so it's like
every revolution.
If you unwind that circular motion to like a straight line, if you go okay, so for every 60 inches of horizontal travel for the drill bit, but it's spiral motion, you get 1 inch of vertical travel. So it's a 1 in 60 rate. So for each rotation of it, it's something like 0.1 of an inch or something. It's penetrating in the stone, and that's phenomenal. Because if you look at our modern diamond tooth tubular drills and tools that we use to drill through hard stone like this, and all of the modern technology, it's the actual rate of penetration per for the horizontal or per revolution is 500 times greater than what we can do with our tools today. Yeah. Now, our tools move at a much higher speed. They're effective. They cut through that stone. We don't know. This might have been moving slowly. Who knows how quickly it actually worked. But in terms of penetration rate, it's significantly great. It's clearly not the same technology that we're doing. We're doing basically the same grinding thing. It's just a much more advanced version of the copper tube grinding. We're using harder stone and stuff. It's not cutting, it's grinding.
Right. I love this because whenever you say that, and I've read Chris Dunn say the same thing, like maybe they were... Like it doesn't mean that they just punch through the stone. No. Right. But I always get this picture of something just like...
Well, it could be, yeah.
It's just going slow, but it's still just powering through it. You're just like, how is that possible? Well, one of the reasons we spin ours really quickly is because it corrects for... Like I've done a lot of drilling through other materials, not necessarily. I've drilled through stone as well, but even just tile, whatever. And you want it to go fast. If you've ever, you can change your drill to go slowly, and what happens? It inevitably catches, and it tries to throw you off throws you off the damn scaffold, right? So like this image of something that's just like, I'm just like, dude, that's kind of even more amazing than something that spins really quickly and just,
the way, who knows? This could have been a quick process too. They certainly drilled an awful lot of damn holes. And the holes got really big. It's like you can imagine trying to do a handheld hole that's like 9 inches, or even the one we saw at the top, like 20 inches
at Karnak.
It's like the biggest one I've ever seen. It's 20. It's almost 2 feet across. It's insanely huge tube in a massive granite structure.
I mean, we haven't gotten up there, but I bet you.
There's a lip.
Yeah, and it's like this thin.
Yeah.
Well,
that's the other thing, right? You see at the bottom where they snap these cores off in these holes. There's plenty of evidence for it. Obviously, at Karnak, all these places. Even at Giza, there's a tubular drill out the front of the third pyramid that shows the same thing. The tool is very thin. So it's not like a big, huge bar of copper or something that's grinding through. It's some thin tool that's cutting this stuff out.
Like, an eighth of an inch or something, or even less.
Yeah. And Petrie knew this. He talks about it being spiral, and then he's just you can see him scratching his head, going, "Well, was it jeweled tips in a bronze tube?" And then he says, "Well, it must have been like 2 or 3 or 4 tons of pressure. On a 4-inch tubular drill to penetrate through the stone." Like twist. He's just guessing it would just twist. It's never going to happen in a bronze copper tubular drill.
Even you put a ton of force on one of our drills and just
it's just gonna pop it. Yeah.
Well, and that's what leads
I think
guys,
it's something else.
Yeah, well, that's what leads Chris Dunn and other people to speculate that it's some other form of technology. Now, he was, when he first wrote his article talking about this technology, he said he proposed ultrasonic drilling as a possibility. And
I want to do some tests and see if we can recreate this.
Yeah,
with ultrasonic drilling.
Yeah,
he disproved it.
I know. I mean, he
backed off on it.
He did. I don't know that he disproved it, but he backed off on it.
Yeah.
And he had good reason.
He suggested a thermal lens, ultrasonic.
EDM's another one, the electrical discharge machining he's talked about as a possibility. We just don't. I think you can confidently say that it doesn't seem like the grinding process.
It's not a bow on a freaking copper tube with sand down in there. Yeah.
All right, real quick, we're going to catch up on the super chats. Thank you guys so much. Crypto Kev, $10. Hola, loved your presentation on board the Nile cruise. Looks like you all had a blast.
We did.
Hope to see more diving. Yonaguni?
Question mark?
Well,
absolutely.
I've been harassing you guys to get certified.
Yeah,
pretty much for that reason.
That's right. There's a reason we got dive certified, and yes, Yonaguni is in the plans.
Yeah.
Thank you.
$5 from Pix. Rock on, Ben, Snake Bros, and the Cosmic Summit.
Hey,
good people doing good things. Yes, Cosmic Summit is coming up.
Yep.
All of us June 15th and 16th, right?
It is,
That's right. Yeah, the three of us will be there.
We're going.
Not in Asheville, which is what I swear I said it was.
Yeah, so we're going. We're going to Greensboro, and it's a beautiful hotel, big tower, and they've got like awesome, like amazing ballroom. It's going to be much more beautiful and awesome than the place we were at before. It's actually got like a little shopping mall type area, big courtyard covered outside the ballroom.
Nice.
There's a bar right there, and then there's this other special bar that can hold like 1,000 people. That's got like a whole disco feel and everything. And
a bar that can hold 1,000 people.
That's a big bar.
That's not big.
It's
enough.
a big place, and I guess it's upstairs. I didn't actually get to go see it. They were working on it, but it's going to be a great place to do this conference. So we're all looking forward to that.
Yeah, for sure.
So we'll see you there, Pix. And
CosmicSummit.com if you're interested.
Yeah.
Yes.
Rex.
$20
for night vision goggles.
Yeah, that would have been a good idea. That is a good idea, Rex.
Yeah, it is.
Bring him into Egypt is the problem.
Can we get him through security?
Yeah.
Bruce. We saw Bruce at the
Eclipse.
at the Eclipse.
$20 more beer money.
Hey.
Dang it, Bruce!
We have one of the.
You never fail to deliver, sir.
Where is our Bruce beer?
That's you know what? You're right.
That's a good time to pull out the Bruce beer. Look at it. Look at this thing.
I got to get glasses.
Yeah, we're gonna need glasses for that. Maybe we'll take a break.
There's 2 glasses right there.
Oh yeah. There we go. Wait, this one.
Oh, that one's not a glass.
Well, we can.
That's one. I can go get. Yeah, it looks clean. We'll take a break in a minute, Bruce, and we're going to drink this beer. This is
found a function for those vases.
From Naughty Brewing Company, San Diego, California. This is a Space Between Stars Baltic Porter, 9.5%.
Yeah.
Maybe we should save it for the end of the show.
Save it for the end.
9 point. Okay.
We'll just
take a
sip on
shot of the beer.
We'll just sip on it. Thank you so much, Bruce. We had a
Yeah.
great time. He was also at the
Absolutely.
Eclipse event, and I hope you're coming to the summit, oh boy.
Hey, Perito Mountain.
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 $5. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
If you forgot your comment, maybe people will direct us to it at some point. Trying to catch up here. Cosmic Summit, $100.
Hey.
What?
Thanks, George.
Thank you, George.
Thank you so much.
Jeez.
5184. What is that? It was a good comment though. Number one.
5184. Oh, is that how many people go fit in the bar?
Oh,
Wow.
wow.
That's a lot.
Maybe that's how much he meant to donate. $5,184.
Thank you so much,
Thank
George.
you, George.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, we owe George some interviews. We got to do the little. We're going on his little. I guess it's a podcast essentially.
Yeah.
Doing a little interview with him for the summit. Do that.
Yes.
We'll get that done soon.
Yep.
Dub Selector.
Dub Selector.
Hey,
Travis,
buddy.
what's up, bro? Travis makes me he does my live stream edits and cuts on the UnchartedX live channel.
That's-
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dub Selector.
You need another
Says,
job.
what
Dub
a
Selector?
lovely guest you guys have.
Cheers, bro. See you, man.
Cool.
All
Cool.
right.
All right. We're going back to this. Where are we going?
Yeah. Was it break time? How long? Yeah, we've been doing 45 minutes. Let's take a break. We can get some glasses for the beers,
All right. We'll do that.
and we'll be right back. We're talking more Egypt. Thank you guys so
Wait a
much.
minute. My music stopped. Oh, no.
there it is.
Oh, it's actually just starting.
That's it.
Oh. We'll be right back. we're back, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
Tell me what you're doing. Oh, too many toothpicks to drink. Yeah, we got more super chats on break. Amazing people. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Sabinator, $5. Ben, your thoughts on the Great Pyramid GPS coords and the speed of light? Randall said he'd look into it, but still heard nothing.
I actually don't. I can't claim to understand. I know that it's supposedly the speed of light is one of those things that's encoded into it. I can't claim to know the details of that, is what I'd say.
Russ?
I also need to look into it. Russ may know.
I don't understand why the like latitude and longitude coordinates of a, it's not the pyramid. You have to pick a spot in there. But it is pretty interesting that there is a place in the Great Pyramid, and I think it's King's Chamber-ish, the spot, which is not quite in the middle of the pyramid, so it is interesting, right? But the King's Chamber-ish area, there is a place where the GPS coordinates read out in a certain way, because there's many ways to depict latitude and longitude, but in a specific way, it looks like the speed of light, which is weird. I agree. That's totally weird. But that has to do with where's the prime meridian.
And they moved it at some point.
They moved it, and it's like, did they move it here so that the speed of light would be in the Great Pyramid? And once you ask that question, you find out when they moved it. They shouldn't have known what the speed of light was at the time. So I don't know why it's like that. But the other thing that I've heard is, and I'm probably going to get this wrong. Let's see. How does it work? I think you take the perimeter of the Great Pyramid and you draw a circle that touches all four corners.
Yeah, that one.
And then you draw another circle that touches the insides of the lines of the square. And is it the difference in the circumferences of those two circles? It's either the difference in the circumferences or the difference in the radius measured in a particular way also gives you the speed of light in meters per second. And that's also weird, right? But I don't know what any of this means, but it is strange.
Yeah.
Okay, that is very strange. But we got more people. I'm sorry I skipped you, Dirty 19 Delta. $20, beer and cash.
Hey,
really appreciate all
money.
your guys' work. Oh yeah, I guess that's a better way. I was
beer
just like,
money.
Beer and cash. That's a good combo.
Beer money.
Gonna join on a trip one of these days. Thank you very much.
Awesome.
And I hope you do. That'll be fun. Lauren Straight, $10. Missed you guys. Hopefully nobody caught any mummy curses on the trip. Here's $10 towards hiring Brendan Fraser if things get real. I don't get the joke, but they did.
Yeah, from The Mummy.
The Mummy.
Brendan Fraser starred in The Mummy, yeah.
Cool. Picks again, $10. Okay, on the hot seat. What was the purpose of the pyramids?
Go.
We'll
let Ben take that one. He's the expert.
It's your super chat. I'm just your guest. I don't know. I suspect. Look, I usually address this by saying I think they were functional. I don't think they were tombs. I think there's very little evidence for it, and my suspicion is that they were functional. I've been fascinated by Chris Dunn's new book, Giza: The Tesla Connection. He's postulating that the pyramid was cheers. Thank you. The big vase.
Yeah, we're drinking beers out of
That's the super thin vase, by the way. That's
the big one. Yeah. He postulates that it's an electron harvester, and he's incorporating a lot of new science that's come out of NASA in recent years surrounding earthquake lights as one phenomena that shows that that rocks under pressure actually start producing electrons, and they tend to flow towards the highest point in the terrain. And then you get this, then they sort of escape from there and it ionizes the atmosphere, you get these flashes, it burns, right? And that's what's happening with earthquake lights. That's new science that's come out of NASA. And then following on from that, there's also been some experiments looking and literally taking granite beams and sticking, putting them in a giant hydraulic press and squeezing them, and it turns out they just pump out electrons, and it's not like it's a little burst of them. They keep
piezoelectricity,
flowing out
right?
Of it.
Yeah,
it's not piezoelectricity.
It's not.
It's not piezoelectricity. It's some other phenomenon. It's only recently done.
I have to look this up.
Okay.
I bet it is connected. I bet it's connected.
I don't know if it's the same thing as piezoelectric. In fact, one of the other things he does go back on, because he also in his earlier book, the book about the Great Pyramid. I mean, it's slipping my brain. the Pyramid Machine or whatever his first book was, talking about the Great Pyramid, he postulated
Which
about
whose?
Chris Dunn's
Giza power plant.
Giza power plant. Sorry, for some mental blank. He talks about the possibility of piezoelectricity being part of it, but then after consulting with geologists, they talked about the specific quantity of quartz in the Aswanian granite is actually quite low relative. Like a lot of granite might be.
No, sorry, I was trying to make him
Trying to make electricity.
Yeah,
he said it's quite low. Like the quality, a lot of granite has like a higher percentage, 50%, sometimes quartz. The stuff from Aswan's like 15%. And then of course the crystals aren't particularly oriented or aligned, so it's like piezoelectricity might not even function very well through those stones.
Yeah, so, I don't.
But the long story short about the pyramids, I think they were functional. I think he has a great interpretation for it. I'm not, I think there's a lot of the answers may exist in realms of technology or science that we're yet to fully discover. I don't think we can write off the possibility that they may have incorporated some things like that are outside of our current realm of understanding, which is why it's important to look at all of these things with an open mind and do our best to investigate them and apply our own technology, because we might end up learning something about it. That's, this is I think the key result of doing it. I mean, you're going to prove a lot of stuff wrong along the way, but I think it's a better approach than just, keeping our blinkers on and saying that no, everything is either a tomb, it's ceremonial, it's purely representational, and it's just been made with this, primitive technology it's a minor subset of what we know today.
Yeah. A lot of our technology.
I think they were built by AI. That's my new take.
He's giving himself the Giorgio hair to say it. A lot of our tech, you can see that it's multiple things that we have understood about the natural world sort of combined in a way that amplify each other or something, right? Like a lot of our tech does this, and to me, it seems very possible that the Great Pyramid, whatever the pyramids were for, and this is the other thing, and we can get to this more later, but it isn't just the triangles. There's all this external structure with channels running under the floors and giant tiles and like causeways that have this particular angle, and and they were big structures. Most of it's missing now, but there's a lot of stuff connected with the pyramids themselves, and and then there's like another structure down at the bottom of the causeway, and you just start to think all of this is one thing.
I agree.
Right.
The whole
it
site's
isn't like
functional.
It isn't like that's the mortuary temple. This is where they did the procession with the body. That's the tomb. It's like, no, this is a big, gigantic, single complex.
Yeah.
Right.
And a lot of those assertions are pure fantasy. They're just made up. Like it's just a guess. It's saying, well, this is the mortuary temple and this is the valley temple, and it was used ceremonially for these purposes.
Cheers.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Bruce.
Cheers.
Thank you,
Beers and
Bruce.
vases.
Yeah, it's very coffee flavor.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah,
but
I do love porter.
Yeah, porter is good.
That is good.
I think the sites themselves is tremendous evidence for this infrastructure on these sites, places like ABC, also at Giza, that suggests the whole sites could have been functional as well. And I mean, my imagination, and this is pure speculation, right? But it's, who knows how interconnected they were, or whether these are just parts of a whole. Yeah. All of these sites together could have been doing, like the Serapeum's doing something. All of those pyramid sites that are within sight of each other too. That's one of the amazing things about, Lower Egypt and those pyramid sites. You start up in Abu Rawash, and from each pyramid site you can see the next pyramid, the next set of pyramids. Yeah. And sometimes, if it's a clear day, more than one set. Yeah. You keep going down that line till you get down. Some people think it extends all the way to Maidum, in the south. So
ooh, yeah.
Awesome.
Damn, I didn't bring a picture of my doom. I wanted to show people that too.
Yeah. Well, we can get to it later. Text you later. $20 says, "Hey, bros in Snake Forest, Ben." You mentioned you saw R.E. Grant at CPAC.
I did.
Did Robert Edward Grant give his presentation on Da Vinci, Vitruvian Man, and Great Pyramid Connection? Also, petroglyphs in the King's Chamber.
There's a lot to
Decan calendar.
The Deacon calendar, yeah.
So yes, I did meet Robert Edward Grant at CPAC. We had a great conversation. Actually, it was funny. We were up there looking at the stars with this telescope the night before the conference started. And I don't watch a lot of television. Other people show. I didn't know who he was. I know he's well known. And we just started talking about. I started talking about the Vase work, and he was fascinated by that. And he didn't give that presentation, but his presentation that he did give was very coupled to some of the discoveries that have been made in the analysis of these vases, because he is finding the exact same ratios that we find in the vases is also present in an analysis of the slope angles of the pyramids and indeed the dimensions of the Giza plateau itself. And it's that square root of 6/2, the radial traversal pattern. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go watch a few of my Vase videos. We'll get into it. Some of my presentations maybe. But he found those, and they also conform to the harmonic scale. And he's found those same things in the pyramids. And we've been corresponding a little bit. And I'm going to, I think, go on his podcast pretty soon.
Oh,
we're going to connect and talk about it. I'm fascinated by it. I've been talking to Chris Dunn about it as well. I think, really interesting. And then also petroglyphs in the King's Chamber. Well, we could see.
I have something to say about that. I think, based on all of the observations, we've been carefully observing the differences in the finished surfaces of granite in all these different places in Egypt. And in my opinion, the roughed surfaces that could be petroglyphs are just part of the natural degradation that we see all over the place in all the stones, both in internal chambers and outside.
Yep.
There's polished areas, and then there's areas where that polishing is literally flaking off, and it can flake off really thin. It can be thick flakes that come off. But of course, in an internal chamber that was never buried in sand and wasn't getting a whole lot of inundation of water, the degradation of the granite in there, the deterioration of it, looks natural, just like a natural aging process to me. That's my take on the petroglyphs. And of course, like clouds, they can take shapes, and we can make forms out of them that are familiar. But I don't think it's anything more than that. That's just me being a scriptard.
Yeah, I mean, we had several people on both tours who had watched that video about the glyphs in the King's Chamber. They came to me about it. I think they asked Ben and Kyle too. I looked at some of the video with some of the people, and then we went into the King's Chamber and we looked around, and we all kind of agreed, like, no. I mean, when you're in here and you're looking, you're like, okay, there's the part where he said there was the eye, and it's not, you can see that it's just that there's a slight pattern in the granite, and it's from some kind of degradation. It isn't like, it doesn't look like it was intentional.
I did go look closely at some of the wall where you could, like, it was down low, where you could get up real close to it and look at it. And I mean, it's like, it looks just like the normal deterioration to me. It didn't look like in any kind of intentional carving or a scraping or anything that would rough that surface. A hammering. Yeah. We see hammering, we see scraping, we see all these different types of things that are roughing up a surface of granite. It's on statues, when they're trying to plane off a piece that had petroglyphs on it, petroglyphs that had hieroglyphs on it, and recarve new hieroglyphs. You can tell a clear difference in the polish. Those were obviously intentional. You can see that it was intentional scraping, rubbing, grinding versus the polished surface. This looked like just a natural to me.
Yeah. That's right. So. I agree. Okay. More questions? Do we have more?
Yeah.
Down there? Probably. Maybe.
But I feel bad because I don't know this guy, and I haven't watched all of his stuff, and I'm not. Maybe he has a lot of good reasons why he thinks that they are.
Yeah.
I'm just telling you from my observations.
Yeah, I'm not specifically trying to skirp his stuff. I'm just saying, like, I didn't see it, but then again, I'm well known for not seeing this kind of stuff. So take it for what it is.
Only Oscars, $10. Thank you for taking us along to Egypt. Well, you're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thanks for coming. Simba Kim, 50 knocks. We'll be taking my first real world steps into this and going to Petrie Museum on Tuesday. They take requests to see specific items. Tips?
Core number 7. Definitely.
Yeah, sure. I mean, what I understand, I tried to go there when I was in the UK, and it was like literally the only 2 weeks they were closed for renovation. I swear it's a conspiracy. But hopefully I'm going to get back there soon. Although I've been in email contact with them, I'm going to do a research appointment there soon as well. But not all of the stuff is on display, obviously. You can go and browse their catalog and just pull up the item number and request which one you want to go see. They have a lot of interesting vases and drill cores. I mean, for me, those are the things that I'd be interested in seeing. I think you get a limit of a few, however many items you want to investigate. I think it might be 8 or 10 or something. But yeah, I'd say look at the catalog and try and chase down what you're interested in. But if you search for like time period or for vases or drill cores, you'll find a bunch of them. There's core number 7's the most famous one, but they have several, and that's one of the things I want to do is get into, because core number 7's kind of been the one thing everyone's debated forever. But there's a bunch of them. There's basalt cores, but there's other granite cores too.
Yeah.
They're just, these from the photos, very similar, and I know Eric Wilson's looked at them as well and done the cotton wrap thread test and
get some 4K video, get a core out there, set your phone on a gimbal, and start like a 4K video and just slowly rotate that core.
Yeah,
because you could then go and actually follow a groove.
Yeah,
you probably could.
You know what I mean in the video.
Well, yeah,
that'd be kind of cool.
Leads me into the whole.
I'm just thinking of things you could do. I mean, you could just to handle a vase fully intact is quite a thing.
The whole that whole discussion with drill core. I mean, I know we're going to talk a little bit more about them, but I am working on it. I did an interview with Chris Dunn back in October, and when we did the vase inspection in Danville. We went out to Danville. The vase owners came out. They brought vases. We did this great inspection. I've done some videos on that. But I also took it another day where I sat down with Chris and we talked for like 3.5, 4 hours or something. And I'm working on that now. As soon as I get back home, I'll hopefully within a few days get that out. But he in some of that gets into some of the pushback that some of those theorists have received, including it's guys making videos where it's my face, his face, aliens in the background, stuff like this.
Yeah.
Calling it 100 years of deception.
Wow, you've been deceiving people for 100 years.
I just thought of this,
including Petrie.
Simba Kim. Real quick, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but bring like a little Lazy Susan.
There you go.
Like just a simple little, like a flat, like nice little Lazy Susan. Put it on there, start your video, and just like rotate that.
Slowly rotate it. That'd be cool. It'd be great for us to get. Yeah, but one of these things these guys did, they actually wrote a paper about it, and they actually took photographs of it. They just turned it and took photographs, then they took a screen, they stitched it together, and it's the dumbest. I mean, it's literally, you take that to any engineer, and Chris actually we have a video where he's talking to this aerospace engineer about it and says, is this a technique you'd ever use to try and show features on like a truncated cone or a truncated cylinder like one of these cores? And it's like, no, this is the dumbest. No one would ever accept it. You're limited to the perspective of your camera. You're taking pictures presumably at the center line. You're right here. You change angle looking up at the top of the core or the bottom
you get
of the core.
foreshortening in the photo.
Yep, it foreshortens it. You have to. It's super error prone in terms of even lining these photos up. It's just a ridiculous method of trying to prove that, and that's the difference between techniques like that and other ones like photogrammetry, where you can start at the top of the core and just gradually take photos at every height. And you could stitch that together even better, scan the damn thing with structured light scanning or something, and create a model, or do what Chris Dunn's done, do it optically, where you're actually following a thread, or doing a latex mold of it, which is what he did, and then geometrically proved that it's a spiral groove. I mean, it's ridiculous the lengths that people are going to try and just get away from this idea that the damn thing has a spiral groove on it.
Yeah,
I want to just respond to this, Aiden Lykowski. So much recent focus has been on Egypt and South America. I am very intrigued by what could be in China and perhaps how they could be a missing link to human history. I totally agree with that.
Yeah. Wandering Wolf. Check some of his stuff out, because he has been to China. He's got great footage of some of the stuff, and we're going to talk to him soon as well. That guy's awesome.
Him? I've met him.
Yeah, he's really cool.
Yeah,
and on top of that, I mean, not just that, but I'm also interested in Central America, like the Mesoamerican, the Maya. And I wanted to give a shout out to Luke Caverns, who was also at the Eclipse and going to the summit as well. And he has an epic presentation on the Olmecs.
Oh, yeah.
And I was just like,
dude,
holy crap.
Yeah.
Like, it was blowing my mind.
Yeah.
Every time.
Yeah.
Makes me want to go down to the jungle. All right, so let me go back.
Do we have another,
we got more.
Do y'all, Z Brawl, did y'all, $50, do y'all ever sleep? Didn't we just leave you guys in Texas?
Yes.
We never sleep.
Slept a little bit, went to work all day, played some frisbee golf after work. And
when we get done with this, Ben and I are going back to spread some democracy too.
Well, yes, we're going to spread some managed democracy.
That's right. So no, we don't ever sleep.
You should stream
but thank you for the. Yeah, I could stream it. Thank you for the donation. Thank you guys, all of you so much. Snakes Alive Roundtable Recordings. Hey,
some
Australia
Aussie bucks.
Yeah, Aussie bucks. 31 Aussie bucks. Cheers, boys. Big hugs from the flip side. From the
flip
upside down
I like
side.
That.
Yeah.
I like that. Flip side. Cheers.
Cheers. Yeah. Cheers.
Yeah.
And yeah, there was
Thanks,
a question. What are in these? It's this. This porter is in the vases.
Which was given to us by Bruce,
Bruce.
which we met
Many times.
again. We've met him many times, but he was at the Eclipse event, Eclipse at the Canyon. Okay, let's pull up this. We'll
Yeah.
go back to more tube drills here. So
Video.
Yeah, we're not finished with the pyramid. There's more.
yeah, so like Ben was saying, and a lot of people don't realize this, but tube drilling is associated with the Great Pyramid specifically. This is a video of another granite block with tube drills in it. And so starting from here, if you just look here, you can see that it's down. So we're down in the subterranean chamber, in the pit in the bottom of the subterranean chamber, and there's this giant piece of granite there with some tube drills through it. It's harder to get good photos of this because we had to jump over a railing because you're not supposed to be down in here, and then we climb down in, and then it's dark, and so my buddy Christian is shining his light up through the holes at the bottom. There's two of them through, so it's similar to the one that Ben and I.
Yeah, back in September, I remember that. It was great.
Ben and I. What? Ben and I investigated the one on the outside. This is another similar block, and you can see that it's got shaped sides. It was intended, and it might have a bit of a prism shape there.
Yeah. That might have even come from the entrance.
It could, yeah, because
it's
it just
kicked
all
down the passage
just
and
fallen all
slid
the way down the passage. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, and so
and then there's this second pit in the pit that we were like. It's actually quite far down there. Christian was like, "Should I jump down there?" And I'm like, "Dude, I don't know if I'll be able to pull you back out."
Yeah, that was the problem I had when I went.
Yeah, and we don't know how solid that floor is.
And
Or
it's
if it's
too
ever
wide
been
for you
we
to
don't know
chimney
how deep
climb
that
it.
goes.
Yeah,
I
we
think
don't know how
it's-
deep it is. Yeah, and if it's ever been fully excavated, we don't know that either. If it has, there's not really any records that I've heard of or found.
Yusuf speculates, and so do I, that it's possible that this actually connects to other passages beneath the ground here, and there might be another potential entrance even on the outside, like somewhere else, because there are big giant shafts around this pyramid as well. So yeah, you're down in this pit that's in the subterranean chamber. You're right beneath the center of the pyramid here, pretty much.
Right.
And it's way down in the ground. It's really interesting. But yeah, you got a piece of granite laying down there. It's another piece with tubular drills. And there's a couple more tube drills. I mean, just one other comment. I don't know if we have pictures of this, but the idea that, we're talking about how fast that tube or that drill would cut through the stone. One of the other indicators for that it potentially had a high rate of cutting, just in terms of overall speed, not penetration rate, is that we find overcuts. We find overcuts of tubular drills in the box in the King's Chamber. That's another thing. Like, so, these aren't like later blocks that were just thrown into the pyramid for some reason. You find the markings of tube drills that have run astray, essentially, and cut past where they were meant to be on the inside of the box in the King's Chamber. If you ever get the chance to go in there, the lighting's really bad in there, but you can take a cell phone light and put it down lower and inside the box and move it around the inside walls of the box, and you'll see at least two spots where there are tubular drills that have run astray and they've cut into the wall. And the whole phenomenon of overcuts in the in things like granite is an indicator that these tools were actually pretty powerful, because again, if you're doing this by hand, I mean, cutting through granite with a copper bar, you might be removing 1 to 2 millimeters per hour of stone. So, you have to be cutting for hours to make these sort of mistakes. And it just isn't going to happen if these things are being done in a very slow fashion. You're going to, you're going to notice a mistake and something that's offline long before that. But, we see overcuts. We see overcuts on statues, blocks, obelisks, other things. And then we also see them with tubular drills in the box.
Yeah. So there is lots of saw cuts. Like maybe you mentioned this, I was not paying attention. Sorry, but there's lots of saw cuts on the basalt paving.
Yes.
Right out front.
Well, it's another argument.
Not necessarily tube drills, but again, you're talking about.
There are tube drills out there too.
Yeah, it looks like again some kind of powered cutting.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
And those blocks.
There also looks like on the same stones, a method of hammering the stone into quite a flat surface. Like not flat as in not rough.
Yeah.
But flat as in on a plane. There's divots all in it, but they continue on like a single plane. You know what I'm saying? I've noticed a lot of
some
different
kind of pockmark, like surface texture.
It looks like a hammering action.
Yes.
It is with roughly finishing it.
Yes, and it's a hammering action with something very small.
Yeah.
Right? You'll see them side by side. You'll see a saw cut, and then you'll see this hammer action where it like joins with another stone or something like that. Like they just
roughed it up.
Instead of trying to take a saw blade, and you would.
It's actually, I know what you're talking about,
You know what
and
I'm
it's
talking
actually a lower level though. They removed the cut surface.
That's what I mean. They removed the saw cut because when they were fitting it, they're like, we need like an eighth of an inch or whatever taken off, or change the angle. Because I've seen them with an angle change.
Yeah, I think it's friction. I think what you see, because the top is ground flat, and it's this, the finished blocks on top of that basalt pavement are flat, and it's, how flat, like the top is flat and it's polished. But on the sides where they join together, and you see this at other places like Abu Ghraib with the calcite bowls, the crystal bowls, you can see the higher level is where they've cut the block, and it's been shaped that way. And then I think when they're fitting it together, and this also speaks to the pyramids as well, with that flint outcrop and the bedrock features of the pyramids. They were really interested in making sure these blocks locked together, I think. That's why I think some of that, they would rough it up, because then you have much more surface tension. If they were both smooth-sided, they'd have the potential, if it's under stress or something happens, for them to move a bit. But if they're rough, those mating surfaces together, like it's gonna resist movement a lot more. So you look very fine, because you run your hand over it and there's just an ever so slight change, like an ever so slight dip.
Yeah.
Because you'd think that, okay, these were somehow cut with a rough thing and then finished with this saw cut to make it nice. But no,
I think it's the other way around. That's all. My point is that they had multiple different methods.
Oh, yeah.
And the hammer action, what I think is a hammer, it just looks like little pockmarks in it, is still such a fine, like it's not like you would think. I think like if you're just hammering away at a stone, it's gonna be like really nasty, like wavy or wet. But they get them very precise along a plane, even though it's a very rough surface. So I don't know, whatever that method is, and all the pock marks are like evenly spaced.
It reminds me.
It's interesting.
A video I'm writing is
divots.
I actually want to do
divots.
Not divots. I want to do like a what are the tools? What are the tools we have evidence for?
Yeah,
all of them, like the scoops, the drills, the saws, the circular saws, the Y saws, straight saws, and some of the finishing tools, the grinding. So what witness marks do we have for these things, and how do they scale each of them? And so what's the potential? What are the tools in this actual toolbox that we think could have made these? I think it'd be an interesting topic to explore.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, Dave Swinton says those Egyptians were very crafty and good at their work. They absolutely were.
100%.
All right,
Simba Kim again.
Simba Kim.
We'll get
50 more knocks. I'll get that 4K video. 24th going to Cairo for my first time. How much baksheesh for them not to take my endoscope?
To look at the Khafre Causeway
You probably
holes.
bring an endoscope in. This just looks like a wire.
Yeah, I think people had them. There was some. They definitely somebody had a long one.
Yeah, somebody on the
somebody
tour.
like way back in September.
Yeah,
I even added a pinned comment on that video about that. They're like, because I think it must have happened like 200 times with people like, have you ever tried shoving an endoscope down that hole in the causeway?
Yeah,
like no. I haven't. But I'm not sure how much it would reveal, because it's probably a pretty big space, given that it's been eating sand for, God only knows how long.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure that you get those things are meant for, I guess, smaller applications and a shorter focal length. Maybe there's ones that have a powerful light on them that you could look in there and actually have a look around to see if it's a large chamber or not. I suspect it's pretty big. Might just be a pile of sand down there.
Yeah, I think you're going to see the top of a pointy top of a pile of sand. Yeah.
I think there's no question
but
that there's
people
a
should
chamber
do it.
down there.
Yeah.
Yes, people should do it.
Should be tried.
Should be tried. I mean, they're not going to bother you too much. You're just looking at the causeway.
Sitting on the causeway, surrounded by a million people on the plateau, running a wire.
I just remember seeing
down
that.
You're going to be totally inconspicuous.
Yeah.
I remember seeing a couple of guys just like.
So my disclaimer, I don't know.
Two dudes all huddled over something.
Yeah.
Okay, that was funny. Another one. Only Oscars, $5. Where can I purchase a vase?
Well, do you want a real vase, or you want one of these 3D
these.
print ones?
Yeah.
Online, there are auctions
Uh-huh.
you can find. Antiquities markets available online.
And antiquities dealers, but
Yeah.
auctions, they come up occasionally on the big auction houses, Sotheby's, etc.
I think maybe we had discussed this about
Me
No,
being
no.
a bad grifter and not buying them before I started. The Vase.
Yeah, you're terrible at this
I'm
grifting
terrible
game.
at this grifting thing I get accused of. If I was smart, I would have bought some vases before we started talking about it, because
Yeah.
apparently we drove the price up. Well,
Right.
So,
Yeah, Ben gets
I was
some people.
Sorry, I know.
some-
I didn't want to interrupt.
No,
you.
no, I was drawing a blank, but Matt Bell from the
Matt's gonna.
Limitless.
Limitless
podcast.
podcast was he's printing a whole bunch of these,
He's
and we were
selling
talking about like, yeah, you should like, put end caps in the store and bells. You know,
Yeah,
just
yeah.
like people won't know what they are. It's
Put
like,
'em on the
oh,
shelf.
that's kind of cool.
Stick them out, put them on the shelves.
Thousands of people have these vases
at
with
Ross
stuff.
or whatever, right? I think he owns Ross as well. Yeah, no, it's yeah. So he's going to print them. So if you can go and download the STL files and print one yourself. I have them on my website. A bunch
Or
of them.
call your nearest nerd. They'll
Yeah,
do
yeah.
it.
Or you
They'll
can-
print it for you.
You can also plenty of 3D printing shops out there will print them up for you. I think the ones now like this one is not. This is Adam's. This is not owned
This
by
one
Vase.
is Adam's.
These are
The
Adam.
OG Vase is Adam Young's Vase. That full STL, you can just print them like these. It's fine. I think the STLs that Matt is sharing publicly on my website, generously of his.
Thanks for the vases,
And
bro.
Aaron, yeah, man.
Oh, hey, George is saying torrid past purchasers of the Cosmic Summit get a 3D printed vase.
There you go.
There you
Hey,
go.
hey.
There's one
There
way
you
to
go.
get it.
How much is that pass, George?
But I think Matt's got watermarks of the in the prints of where you can officially purchase these. He's going to sell them. He's going to. I forget the name of the website now, but I know he's gearing up to actually sell prints of his vases, and he's making. I think he could now. His collection is phenomenal.
Yeah,
And in
for
fact,
sure.
I've been talking to him recently as well. And when it's one of those other things I got to do when I finally get back home is catch up with him and go out and check that stuff out. And there's been some really more interesting research happening on the vases that I want to get into. And I haven't shared much since we did the Danville stuff at the end of last year, but that's project has moved on quite a bit and it's very interesting. So that's all to come.
Excellent.
Should we move on to these videos, or should we take a break?
We should take a break and then we can come back with some vids.
What do we got
and some
playing
other
on the
stuff.
old radio?
Yeah.
Ah,
Green and blue. Green and blue.
We'll be back.
Yeah.
Love this song.
And we are back, ladies and gentlemen, Brothers of the Serpent podcast, coming to you live from the Tangent Cube of Science. Ben in studio with us, and from UnchartedX. And we're still talking Egypt. And we're still on the Great Pyramid. So like I mentioned at the beginning, I climbed the well shaft to get to the grotto because there is supposed to be a granite block there with some holes drilled through it, right?
Yes, there is. It has a long history, that block.
Yeah.
That it was probably, and this one didn't come from the entrance. This one was most likely kicked down from somewhere in the antechamber to the king's chamber.
So that's very weird
pull up a diagram?
to understand because, yes, like let's find a diagram because like now I've climbed it and I'm like, how did it get into the grotto?
Well, so
it should have fallen straight down.
Well, so it's about 700 pounds, from what I understand.
Jeez.
And it came down from the king's chamber. It probably got kicked down the grand gallery. Because you got to remember, you go in there today, there's steps and rails. None of that was there, right? It's a slope.
Yeah.
So it goes down the king's chamber. And then maybe it was in the way or something. So someone shoved it into the top of the well shaft, the entrance from
which is at the bottoms of the grand gallery.
Bottom of the grand gallery. And then, but it got wedged. It got wedged in that passage. And it was stuck wedged there for quite a long time.
It must have gotten wedged where the masonry is then.
Yeah, in that passage. But then eventually somebody did go down there and broke it loose, and then it fell down into the grotto, and that's where it's...
So that may be why there's a hole in the masonry that opens up into the grotto.
At the top of the... It was... I thought it was wedged, not so much like...
But I just mean... That's what I mean. Like, and we can... I've got some video, and we can look at it, and I'll try to show you what I'm talking about. Because now that I've climbed in there, I'm like, how did this block end up... Because... If Kyle pulls up a diagram, these are not good diagrams.
You look up Grotto if you search for the Great Pyramid design and make sure you add Grotto because there's the Maragioglio and Rinaldi diagrams somewhere there, but Grotto it should come up. But I see that one top right. That shows you the grotto with the location of the block.
Right, I'm just going to share this page and we'll go through them and
that'll work.
Give people an idea.
Hey Zach, $5 to give money for Ben to buy flavored Jewel Pods while in Texas. Love Ben and Bros, the Snake Force, and my fellow Benonites. ZLH Wander on Discord. Hey, thanks, man.
Thanks, man. Cheers.
I think he's using views, but
make sure either way, but
it'll work. Yeah.
I'm gonna take this.
Okay, we got that. All right.
Luke Miller, 108. Man,
Holy
dude,
crap.
thank you so much. 108 just to be cooler than George. That's tough to do, man. Thank you. Can I get a vase with a Venus flytrap planted in it? That's a great idea.
Yep. That's what they were. That's a good.
All right.
Dude,
that's tiny.
Really
this one here. Oh, that's Pinterest, though. That's probably not going to pull this one right here.
Is there a big one?
That's what you want to look at? You want to just look at where
we'll
the
just
grotto
give a
is?
general.
Yeah, I want to show them the shaft and like how to get, and then we can look at the grotto itself too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
That one's pretty good. It's tiny.
This is
Whatever. All right.
And I am telling you, it is not. It is much steeper than this. At least it was in my experience. Yeah, I know. That's why I'm
Control
Pinterest.
Plus.
Come on.
Control Plus.
Does that work on a Mac?
This is a Mac.
Oh,
Yeah.
let's try it. Let's
Forget
try
it.
it. Control. Well, I
Should
have
make
to
it
do
bigger.
shift.
I don't know.
No.
That
Nope.
lost me.
Doesn't work. Anyways, I need to do the. I'm not great at this right now. Let's see. No, that's not what I meant to do.
Can you use just use Google
Size.
Chrome Zoom and just zoom in on that?
Yeah, that's what Control Plus does.
Oh, okay.
It makes
I
the
see.
window bigger.
Yeah.
All right. That's
Kind
a
of
good one.
has it.
There we go. Let's try that one. Oh, you're using Safari. That's what's happening. Ramp.
Huh.
That's interesting.
That might be the
There you
entrance
go.
to it.
Okay.
Here we go.
Well
Here we
shaft, grotto.
Click on that.
Okay,
Yeah.
so earlier, y'all were taking pictures from up here. Here's
That's
the
right.
chevron blocks, blah, blah, blah. And then this is the descending passage where you were saying all the blocks were tilted towards the inside. It goes down.
Yep.
We would go through the more modern passage, Mamun's forced passage, which links up right here where the descending passage sort of meets the ascending passage, and there's a big stairway, and they had rails because literally you could just fall off this and die. So you have to go down this staircase, and you get into here, you go all the way down, and then there's an entrance to the well shaft, which comes up. The
Quite a
grotto
steep
is
climb.
here. This shaded area is the bedrock, and look at how they've stair-stepped it. I'm sure it is stair-stepped in that
stair-stepped.
manner. Probably
So they're showing
not
the
exact.
grotto as being a pocket in the top of the bedrock right there.
Yes.
Just
And then
below, yeah.
You went to here, but not up this.
Right. I didn't go up that. Yeah.
Christian
Christian climbed that.
did it. He
Yeah.
did it all the way to here. And then in here, so if you go up the ascending passage, very interesting stuff in here. Anyways, you get here, and as you come into the Grand Gallery, there is this area you can stand around, and they've got there's like a door in the right side down,
Down
a
low, yeah.
like thigh level,
A metal grate.
and there's a metal grate over it that's locked, and it goes to the right, and then it goes down.
Yeah.
So, anyways, that's what we're talking about here. So now let me move back
It's
to
the pit in the subterranean chamber.
yes,
yeah.
this is the pit in the earlier video
Yeah.
with the piece of granite in it.
Yeah.
So this is a good diagram right here. I like this one.
Yeah, and so that the interest in this is all driven, I think, from partially apart from seeing that part of the pyramid, but also that block in the grotto also is reported to have tubular drills in it.
Make sure it's muted.
Well, I gotta move it down here first.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's yet another.
There we go. So this is, I'm climbing this almost vertical shaft. So I'm looking up right here. And the reason I'm showing that, can I pause this too? Like just pause it real quick.
The fishes.
Space bar.
Yeah, but I'm not in the window.
Oh, right. You're not in the window. Okay. So the reason I stopped here to take some video, and when I was climbing, I'm trying to be quiet because there's lots of dust, dirt, bats. Bats are flying around. I can hear them squeaking and they're flying past me and stuff. So I'm trying not to get hit by any bats when I'm clinging to the walls of this very steep shaft. But I stopped right here to turn on the camera because there are deep fissures in the bedrock to either side of me. Like the well shaft itself is crossing through these big openings in the bedrock that are down below the structure of the pyramid. And okay, he can play it a little bit. You can see it's tough to see in the video, but I could see clearly. It's like a cave. There's stalagmite. You see it there? Stalagmite, stalactite like features in this hole in the bedrock. And here I show you, like, you can, there's my feet and there's the the shaft going down. So I'm climbing this thing like a kind of a chimney climb. And you see it's got this twist. But it's interesting because whoever cut this thing through the bedrock, they knew where they were going. They did a very good job of aiming this, this series of tunnels from the bottom of the descending passage to the bottom of the Grand Gallery.
Look at the way the rock is sort of cut out here and here and here and here in the same area as these little divots. I wonder if they actually shoved boards or logs.
There might have been steps
in there at some point.
Somebody knocked them in there when they were trying to climb it.
Yeah,
maybe.
Or maybe
the first part of the climb. It wasn't long divots like that. It was like small little foot-sized holes that were just like, it was like a little cup in the wall that you could put your toe on. So they were like little toe holes that had been cut there. Let's see, there's more video of me climbing up to the... You lost it. So anyway, when we get up closer to the grotto itself, yeah, just go to the next one. Yeah.
Okay. It always puts it in the wrong window.
It puts it in the wrong window.
Thank you,
just
Apple.
Mute it.
I love Apple.
Yeah.
All right. Back to here. Sorry, guys. Give me a second here. All right.
So right here, the shaft turns vertical again. It was tilted slightly, but there's another fissure in the stone, in the bedrock. And this one, it looks like somebody has tried to fill it with some kind of aggregate. You can see the material right here.
Yeah.
See the flint, all these little...
So, yeah. Go ahead.
So there's this, it's some kind of fill material. This is not native to this area.
So Yusuf had pointed this material out to us at in Saqqara.
Winisa's pyramid.
Yes, Winisa's pyramid. Thank you. Pyramid. Thank you. And it is distinct. It's all these like rounded flint nodules. I'm gonna back it up here.
Yeah, you can back it up and pause it. Yeah. There you go.
Right here. Can I get a clearer picture of them? Anyways, these dark rocks right here are flint, and they're polished like river rock. And it was really strange in the area that he was pointing it out. And I started looking at the bedrock and the way the bedrock was sloping. There was a like a creek bed there, dry creek bed. Oh wait, I'm in the wrong. There we go. And there, it's just full. There's the sloping of the natural bedrock. There's fissures in the bedrock or erosion patterns in the bedrock going in one direction, and then this material with all these flint nodules was there, filling up like 3 or 4 feet of a low spot in the bedrock that had been eroded, and it's right at the corner of one of the pyramids. And I remembered going into the Mastaba 17, and you're crawling through. I remember crawling into Mastaba 17, the hole going down there, and like, my knees.
Yeah.
What am I hitting? And I'm like, I'm pulling up this. It's this
Flint.
polished flint nodule, and I'm looking at the wall. They're all over the walls and ceiling. It's like the hole, I guess, would have been essentially a robber's tunnel or something like that into the Mastaba 17, was cut right through this stuff before you get down into the normal bedrock. And so that made me think that maybe this is poured. Like it's an actual poured, kind of like cement. It's very hard in that matrix of some fines or whatever with all these flint nodules, and there's quartz nodules, all of that in there as well.
So I've been thinking about this, and I've been wondering if these, the little filaments, this mineral, these, and we'll see them when Kyle pulls up more videos. When I get into the grotto, there are these filaments, and I've been wondering if those are if it's the stuff that's supposed to harden the stuff is draining out of there slowly. Because this stuff in the grotto is soft, whereas the stuff we looked at in Saqqara, it's hard. Right, it's like it's still working as a kind of a concrete or a base.
Yeah.
Thanks, Barnaby. $10 at work. Can't stay long. Looking forward to watching later. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
And we also missed one real quick. Let me go back up.
Oh,
H. Lesser, $10. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's an interesting phenomena to find that around these pyramid sites. I think I'm trying to think where else before. Was it at Abu Rawash? There was, I think, another site as well where we saw the same.
We saw some weird stuff at the Faiyum when we went to the Faiyum. Maybe it was Abu Rawash. Yeah. But there was a place where they were all crushed.
Well, yeah, well, that's
okay. So here we can pause this because I want to show this. So now I've climbed. Can you? I know this is a pain. Can you switch back to the diagram?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you can see this is masonry. I'm still in the well shaft, but now it's masonry instead of bedrock. Right. I'm below. Yeah, almost right next to it. So I've climbed this from the descending passage. I've climbed up that, and then in this long section is where I found a fissure. And maybe they've drawn them.
Drawn the fissures.
They've drawn the fissures. There's one. Look how.
Oh, right here. Yeah.
They've drawn the fissures. So they.
Oh, and this one goes through. Yes, because you passed this in the descending
passage as well. Yeah.
Wow, that's cool. Look at it's underneath the grotto. Look, it goes all the way down.
Yes, that is the one that has the fill in it. It's the second one where I saw the fill material. So maybe it's actually coming out of the grotto.
Now right in this camera frame that we were just looking at, you can see these tiny little stacked blocks.
Yeah.
This is
I'm looking at the masonry there, and there's a hole through those blocks that goes into the grotto.
So here we go. In the beginning, they shaped the bedrock into this stair-step pattern, and then there's this natural cave, this fissure here, and they tried to fill it with this aggregate, right?
That's
to
right.
Plug that fissure, because it literally travels all the way down, and it's big right here when you go into the descending passage.
That's right.
It's very distinct. I mean, you can't miss it.
Yeah.
It's a huge fissure. So they must have, I think, tried to fill it with that aggregate material. Anyways, we go back to the video.
So the stuff has been sinking through that fissure, right? And it's caused a void in the grotto. Maybe that's what it is.
Yeah.
They poured this stuff into the grotto,
and it's falling,
now it's
down,
falling
the fissure.
down the fissure, and it's opened up a hole. Okay.
Yeah.
That's got to be what happened. Oh
because this is the thing. I got the distinct
so then
impression.
Then they blocked up like they.
Yeah.
Sorry.
They also built a passage to it from the top.
Right.
did.
I got the distinct impression when I was in the grotto that the whole thing was like a giant bubble in this aggregate material that's slowly traveling upwards, right? Because the ceiling is collapsing. And, and the ceiling collapses and the floor raises. And each time that happens, that's what happens. So the whole grotto is slowly moving upwards through past that masonry.
I'm almost positive it's an aggregate. I mean, that doesn't belong there, people. Like this, all of this bedrock, everywhere you go around the Great Pyramid is just solid limestone. Yes, there are natural flint nodules, but they're not like a polished little round stones like these. Like a normal, like if you pull a flint nodule out of limestone, which they naturally form in, it's got a patina on the outside. It's coated with this, calcification or whatever it is. The limestone minerals have concreted to the outside of it, and it's rough. You have to break it, then you can see the beautiful flint inside. All these nodules in this aggregate material are river worn.
Yeah, they're worn and polished.
They're smooth and polished, and so the patina is distinctly different from what you would find just naturally in the limestone, which there's plenty of it in the limestone, but it's not all in a bunch as a bunch of small nodules surrounded by some kind of fine material, which is not limestone. Whatever that fine material is between them, it's something else.
And it's this dark, like a burnt orange color. It's like a distinctive. It looks different from the sand and all this other stuff.
Yeah, and
this is really cool.
It's hard. Like it's
very hard.
It's hard and it's formed together, and now it's like however many thausands of years later, it's coming
crumbling
apart.
a little bit, but it's from exposure too, because like wherever that edge, like at Wanis's pyramid, there's a big ravine there where some flooding went past the area and really eroded it away.
We also find that exploded flint that's in these places too.
I know.
That's
the
crazy.
shattered
that's a whole other thing, shattered flint. Where it's like
I didn't bring any pictures of that.
Hairline cracks of all.
And
it's a whole.
And they're weird because the nodules themselves in this matrix of material are shattered in but there's it's just a bunch of straight cracks.
Yeah, like the whole thing just.
Yeah.
It wasn't like they shattered it all in a grinder and then spread it.
The three-body problem. It kind of looks like they put some nanofibers.
That's right. It does look like
nanofibers.
That
ship. Imagine that effect on a piece of flint.
That's
like
right.
That's
right. Hey, new phase. $27. The Bosnian pyramid also has an aggregate which is unrelated to the original architecture, as if it were a way to gum up the works. Huh. Interesting. Well, that's what's interesting about this is in these places, it looks like they were using this as a base to fill in voids, like in Saqqara. That's what it looks like.
Part of the bedrock preparation.
And here in the Great Pyramid, you get the impression that it's a fill where they're trying to. In other places, like, for example, outside of the pyramid, on the plateau itself, on the platform that the pyramid itself is on, and not just the Great Pyramid, but also the middle one, and possibly Menkaure. We just can't see the bedrock around Menkaure because they haven't dug it out. But there are places where they clearly, you can see it. There would have been a long fissure or massive discontinuity in the limestone, and so they actually would dig it out. Like widen this hole and dig it out and make it square and fill it with tiling, to basically to solve this problem, to fill what could become a problem later if they didn't do something about it at the time.
But this makes sense that the fissure, this natural fissure being so large, they just had to pour it.
They're
like
just pouring,
think of drilling a well. Like you drill this well and you end up in a cavity and then they pump all this.
They do this with dams too.
Slurry down in there.
They dig down for a dam. They dig down to the bedrock, and then the engineers come and check, and they're like, "Okay, we need to put a bunch of concrete in these porous parts, inject it, to fill this in." Yeah.
Genius. So, oh man, what was I going to say? I forgot. We got to keep watching this video. Then.
Okay, and Weeben had $20 says great stuff. Thank you. Well, thank you very much. And yes, okay. So back to the video. This should turn and show you the hole into the grotto. Here we're looking at the masonry in the well shaft. You can see it's dressed blocks. And then there's this hole busted through. That's the grotto that we're looking at inside there.
And that's what you're talking about with the block.
Yeah, so the block comes down, gets jammed in this masonry. It kind of is already broken the wall. But my question is how are they shoving it in here?
Yeah, I don't know.
It's weird. How did the block end up in this place in the first place?
And right there, you can see that's that aggregate.
There's the aggregate.
Look at all the little stones in there. And we'll see more of that in the next
And
video.
you're looking out on the floor here. This is aggregate that has collapsed, right?
Yeah, right here in the
It's
foreground.
very soft and in the grotto. It was like starting to make me nervous because
Think of like concrete before it's
it's powdery,
super powdery.
Yeah.
Let me get the next video.
Oh, is that the end of it? Okay.
Yeah.
Pull up the next one.
But yeah, I think so. You have to consider also that how do you get an aggregate by itself and then mix it with a powder? You have to have a method of sifting.
Yeah.
So they're in some river valley somewhere, and then you have to have containers to hold it. Right. So now if you're moving tons of an aggregate as opposed to multiple tons of one stone, like, yes, you can drag that stone and roll it or do all that kind of stuff. You can't do that with an aggregate.
Yeah.
You got to carry it in a vessel.
Yeah.
And so trying to imagine, well, what vessels? Were they carving out giant granite boxes and filling them with flint nodules? And then, no, just, I mean, but still, it's like
down the river.
the logistics of moving an aggregate, sifting an aggregate, because a lot of these stones are the same size. They're very similar size. It looks
like gravel.
Sifted like gravel. And then you're combining it with this fine material to sort of concrete it together. And then you have to transport all that, and all of that has to be contained in some vessels that are able to hold a lot of weight.
Yeah.
Are you just like you get a reed boat and you just start dumping baskets in there, or just throwing them baskets in and piling them up, and then everybody's carrying baskets? I guess that's one way to do it.
Yeah.
But it's just a logistical nightmare to move this stuff from wherever it came. So I find that very interesting.
Yeah.
And I'm sidetracked from what I'm supposed to be doing, which
That's
is
okay.
the next
No,
video.
it's good. I've been in a lot of natural caverns, and again, I've never seen these thin filaments of mineral crystalline growth. It's just hard to describe these things. You guys are going to see them in the video once I get into the grotto here. I start crawling around, and you'll be able to see there's these extremely thin, like I don't know, like silken fiber, thin wires of some kind of mineral growth that's coming out of the ceiling and the floors. You see all the sparkles. That's what it is.
It's like the halite, but it's in these tiny little...
Right. I've never seen this in caves. So what is it about this particular material that's growing this stuff? And it's elsewhere in the pyramid too. When we were in the robber's tunnel off the Queen's Chamber, if the rocks are covered in this stuff to the point to where it looks like a sort of like a fungus fuzz. That's what I thought it was at first. I was like, what is this? Some kind of fungal growth? Like a mycelium? But it's some kind of mineral growth. It's crystals that are growing in extremely thin fibers. And they, you try to take some for a sample, and it just disintegrates into powder that's invisible. But it's easy to see them on the, like hanging from the walls when you're shining your light through them.
Sorry, but it's really annoying that it keeps opening the windows in the other screen.
Yeah. Yeah, I know that.
Sorry, folks.
No, that's no problem.
All right. Here's another one.
Okay.
They're also short videos, so I'm kind of like having to do this a lot.
So I know I need to put them together. So you see this stuff hanging from the ceiling? Look at this.
That is cool.
Yeah, it's cool seeing this on a big screen, not a phone.
Yeah. So that right there is probably where the block is.
Yeah.
It's just buried. The ceiling has collapsed multiple times, and there's just this soft pile.
This is how you describe it as a chamber that's a bubble that's migrating upwards.
Right. There's the masonry. That's the well shaft going through
the
aggregate. We're now looking at the outside of it. The blocks are white because they're also covered in this same crystalline growth.
Wow.
Is that not the block there? Is
that one on corner? Right? That one.
It could be, but it looked like limestone to me.
But maybe it's covered in that salt.
Maybe you're right. Maybe it is the block, and I completely failed in my investigation.
There it is, bro.
Right there. Yeah, I was expecting it to be sitting like, I was like, it must be under
it could be.
pile.
It looks like limestone, but still, it could be covered in that stuff.
Yeah, that could be it.
Let's check this out again. I don't know. It didn't look like it's broken like granite either.
Yeah, look at that.
No.
Yeah, I don't think that's granite.
No.
We're going to pretend that's not granite right now, folks. That's just a normal piece of limestone.
So then I thought, I'm asking in the video, I'm like, maybe it's up here around the other side of the well shaft. So then I pause the video. I have to climb up there. This is like everything I'm doing in here is crawling through this very soft, powdery material that's full of extremely hard nodules of flint that are sharp. So
Yeah.
I didn't crawl with the camera. So now Kyle has to pull up another video. Sorry
You're
about
killing
that.
me.
Yeah, I know. I'm
Killing
killing
me,
you.
Smalls.
I'm killing you.
All right. This is all last minute, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, we turned up about 10
It's like,
minutes.
should we do it live? Yeah, that's
Yeah,
a great
let's do it
idea.
live.
Hey, how about we bring some media? Oh,
Yeah.
even a better idea.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go.
Salt silk. That's a good term.
Oh,
Look at it
fall.
falling.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
so
cool.
just my breath and me moving, I could see waves of
Hold on.
slight movements of air
Shame
going
it's
through the chamber and then making this stuff fall, and it's floating, and I know I'm breathing it in.
I'm pretty sure you're in a sarlacc throat.
Yeah, look at that.
Yeah, yeah.
is. That's creepy.
And all sand.
Somebody's asking if I tasted it. Not this time, but I tasted it in the robbers tunnel off the Queen's Chamber. It doesn't taste like anything.
It's
You know, it's like you get a very slight, maybe salty taste, but it's like putting a rock in your mouth.
But come on, that's an aggregate. That
Yeah.
was placed there.
Look
People
at
sifted
at
that
these
stuff.
sharp
They
pieces of
picked
flint.
that. So that's the other thing. What a great
Just
aggregate.
fell
The
down from
flint,
the ceiling there.
flint and quartz aggregate. That's a good aggregate. And it's all over the area of the Red Pyramid. The entire grounds
Yeah.
is covered.
Yeah, bent pyramid, same thing over there. Yeah, you see the same thing. So it seems to be, it's another
Now I know that
component of these old kingdom sites.
there are like conglomerates are formed by this same type of stuff, but like there could be lenses of them in the sediment somehow of the nodules that form those conglomerates ultimately. So maybe some of it's natural, like in those places in Saqqara, and that's where they were actually mining it.
Yeah.
But it doesn't belong here,
No.
I don't think.
It seems to have been brought in.
So see how there's way fewer fibers here? The ceiling has collapsed. And then
that's bat guano, bro.
I start digging in it, and
no.
I'm just like, oh my god, this stuff is
No.
incredibly soft. I'm thinking the block
This
is down
about where
below
you're
this.
like,
Yeah, then I'm like, well, I think I need to get out of here right fucking now. Look at the
It has, you can see where the top of that ceiling is.
yeah, and then like how the rocks in the aggregate are sticking out of the soft material.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, it's
Get
time to
into my
go.
nice,
I need to
safe
get out of here
stone
just in case
passage.
this bubble decides to move while I'm in it. You know,
Yeah, look at this. Do you think that is
you
granite?
think that's the block right
That's the $1 million question, people.
be.
Is that granite or limestone right there?
there? Man,
We're gonna go with
I'm gonna
limestone.
feel like a complete moron if we go back and I climb all the way up there. I'm like, this is the block right here. I did all
made
this
it.
digging and
No.
come on.
You got to take your achievements one at a time.
One at
You
a
made
This
time.
it
was
up
cool.
there.
This
If
is the best
that's-
footage I've seen. of
If
it,
that's
so.
it, I didn't see any holes in it. I went over to it and looked at it, and it looked like a piece of core masonry that was busted.
Yeah, that's kind of what
I think you're right. I mean, it's entirely possible that thing's.
it's buried.
It's
buried.
It's got to be
But
buried.
I just want to. So one thing I'd like to do at some point is look at this footage in relation to specifically the diagrams where it shows that thing's tilting, or it seems to be on
Yeah.
the edge of the pit in the grotto.
Yeah,
They
and they
had to
show the
move it.
edge of the pit in the grotto right next to the
So-
entrance, which would be right there. That
it's full.
stone is tilted, so that might be
That
it.
could be it.
I'm
yeah.
wondering if the piece that was in the grotto is actually now down on the ground right before you get into the subterranean
That's
chamber.
not it. No, that's
No?
not it. No, that's
Okay.
only a small block. That's not 700 pounds. There's another fragment of granite at the bottom of what Kyle's referring to at the bottom of the descending passage, where the crawl space where you crawl straight before you get into the subterranean chamber.
Yeah,
On the little alcove to the right, which is another weird feature that's there for some reason. There's a piece of granite in there that's quite big. I mean, I think I budged it when I shoved it really hard. But it's not, it's just it's like a broken piece. There's no straight sides. It's like a piece off another piece. But there's no holes in that one. It's not the same block.
okay.
It is another fragment.
Someone in the chat asked, "What did it smell like in there?" It smelled like damp soil, like being down in a creek bed. That's what it smelled like.
Yeah.
There's just sort of like a very mineral scent, and it's kind of damp. And there's always also incredibly quiet. The rest of the pyramid, even in the shaft, it's echoey. You're surrounded by sort of squarish rock walls, and there's lots of echoes. And then you get in this
That is where it is.
bubble chamber that has this dampening effect, and it's dead silent, like completely quiet, and totally still. And the other thing that made me nervous, I actually say it in the video, but we weren't playing the audio, is that I suddenly realized, because the whole well shaft is full of bats, and they're like, the whole time I'm climbing, I can hear them squeaking and sort of freaking out and flying around up there, and then they would fly past me. And then I get into the grotto, and there's no bats in there.
They don't like it.
They don't like that fibrous salt stuff growing off there, and that made me realize, well, if they don't like it, it's probably not good for me either. And I know I was breathing it in. It's floating around in the air.
If you go back to that image search, there's a good picture of the grotto up close with the...
Well,
yeah.
I got this quick question for you. It looked to me like when you got up here, the whole you had to go up to get into the space.
That's right.
And then you're actually looking at this wall.
Right.
But in here, they show like you go down.
That's right.
And you're underneath the wall.
It actually shows a deeper pit
that
in the other
bubble has been moving upward.
That's what I'm saying. Like you're in like not too distant future, you'll be up against the core masonry right here.
That's right.
Yeah.
I think you're right.
That's freaking crazy.
So that air bubble in the aggregate that they attempted to fill the top of this fissure with in the bedrock has been moving upward. Or the bubble formed from the aggregate stuff falling down into the fissure, and now it's moving upward. Right? It's just a strange, very weird place.
There's a better diagram on the...
Yeah, just back in Google somewhere.
Yeah, back on the search. Maybe in the other tab. But,
yeah, you had a
right,
different
Let me get
tab.
out of here. I'll do this in private.
Okay.
Find this thing and not bother people with it. Where did I...
the other tab.
The other tab.
That's just the photo. Anyways, I'll find it.
Yeah. So that whole experience was amazing. Being in the pyramid itself is amazing, but this particular feature of it is, number one, it's kind of mysterious. Not a lot of people have been in there, so that makes it fun. Very sort of dun, 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 dun. Where's my Indiana Jones sound effect? Where is it?
This one.
Yes, this is what I wanted. This is what it felt like climbing up in there. But the other thing is that I think this is a big clue about the structure itself. It is very rough cut, but at the same time, it doesn't look like a robber's tunnel, because robbers wouldn't bother to make it square. And there's how would robbers even know where they were going?
It actually says raised floor level. So they're actually talking about the ceiling collapsing there. See, it says raised floor level. And you have the very tip of that granite block poking out. So there's actually a deep hole originally.
Oh, this is it.
This is it.
I see. Okay,
That's where I was climbing around.
So
in.
he's climbing
grotto.
up here,
Yeah,
and he's getting in through here, and they're showing a dotted line where the actual
grotto is today.
the grotto is. How do they know this?
It might have been dug out at some point.
Deep hole in the floor. Granite block was on the edge, so maybe that granite block is now down here, or they slid it. What did they...
There really is very... This is the other interesting part about this.
We got to go back and read these guys.
Well,
Davidson and all these...
Yeah.
Caviglia and...
There's very little modern documentation of this. I mean, you really are looking at black and white photos from when there were some excavations done in this part, which is probably what revealed this. And then these guys
just
came
don't...
in later.
Look at this diagram. That granite block is not going to sit there like that.
Yeah.
Because
it's actually full of aggregate.
Who drew
It's full
this?
of aggregate, yeah. So when it fell down in there, that hole had already must have filled up some.
Okay.
I guess. I mean, I don't know how they're figuring out that's a deep hole in the floor. Yeah, I've got to read it too.
Man, look at all these things we could go read about. All the numbers.
Oh, yeah.
Probably have
And
stuff.
then the big core masonry. They even show the blocks up there. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, that's
Ed Fu
probable baseline of core masonry. Yeah,
Did you do... Ed Fu is asking, did you do the Ace Ventura bat scene in your head? Yeah. Yeah.
Nobody said anything about that.
Yeah. I'm not touching it, though. Yeah. Yeah. That's right.
That is so cool, dude. I'm glad you went. Christian went up there first, and he didn't get the greatest video, but it was enough to see that aggregate.
To see the
there.
aggregate,
and I was like, oh my god, it's got to be.
Yeah.
So I think that's a whole nother thing they were doing. It's just, I don't know. To me, freaking, that's fascinating.
Yeah.
And yeah, it makes sense. Like these engineers, they were amazing. They knew the stone.
Yeah.
There's so many examples of just how competent they were with working with natural stone in place bedrock. Limestone, of course, having a lot of different features, a lot of different hardness levels, layer through layer, and they knew what they were doing. So this is cool that they were also using this method of filling these voids like that with this aggregate and a very hard material, like most scale of 7 for quartz.
You guys are going to get really pissed off at me, but you know how
flint.
You can end up with a bunch of flint nodules? Lots and lots of flint nodules that you need to find something to do with. If you were grinding limestone to make a geopolymer, all the flint nodules would have to be discarded.
They'd fall out. Yeah. Like, get rid of those.
Yeah. And then you have this giant pile of flint. What are we going to do with this, guys? Well, we
put it in a huge tumbler, polish them all up,
pour them in these holes. But this is another great point, though. The geopolymer stuff. Why wouldn't they have just poured this problem section full of geopolymer if they had geopolymer that they could pour?
Yeah.
Okay, we missed. We gotta go back here.
We missed some stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. Rick R, $10. There is a natural material called hardpan, a mix of sands, small pebbles, and rocks. It's often hard as hell, like concrete mixtures.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is the other thing. I was trying to find out if this aggregate, what I'm calling an aggregate, is natural or could be natural. And that's what I was saying. I remember reading something where you can get these like lenses of this stuff in sedimentary rock. Where it's and I think that's where the conglomerate comes from.
Conglomerate is this stuff like it's really turned into stone.
Yeah, it's been completely lithified at that point.
Yeah.
And then you get that. It's like a mixture of quartzite and these flint nodules and quartz and actual like rock crystal quartz nodules. And then of course you could go all different levels of hardness from there, because going back all the way to sandstone and even just sand and just having the nodules all blended into it.
Yeah.
I don't know how it happens. Next, Rex, again, $20. Can we get a $50 Dynasty cover of the tune Shaft, please? Here's my button.
Do you have a Shaft button? It's probably on scene 3 or something. You don't know which one. It's
gone.
It's gone.
I lost it.
It's too bad.
It was a crappy take.
We were using the Shaft from that thing, for the Gantenbrink episodes. Shaft.
Not sure how to pronounce this, but Kynan Bat, $5. Love the show, guys. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And Truth Seeker, $20. Thanks for sharing this with us, guys. To your knowledge, is this the first time this stuff has been filmed? At least the second, to my knowledge.
Yeah. Our buddy Christian.
I know some other people have been in there.
So in the footage that we watched earlier, where I was down in the pit at the bottom of the subterranean chamber, and we were investigating the granite block with the drill core holes through it. The guy that you saw down there with me, Christian, he climbed this, in October the year before, probably something like that.
I don't know anything about it.
Yeah. Anyway, this is hearsay. So he got some footage, and now I have this footage, and but other people have been in there. Petrie writes about climbing it.
Petrie climbed in a 3-piece suit holding a candle.
Yeah.
They're probably in a cane over one hand. He's like, "This is easy."
Yeah, that's what he wrote about it. He was like, actually, after you do it a couple of times, it's actually easy, and I can hold stuff in both hands and just use my elbows and knees.
Elbows, yeah.
Why do you think they have those pads on the tweed jacket with the pad on?
Tweed with the
elbow pads.
Okay.
We need somebody to start making Petrie jackets, dude.
We have a plan for Egypt.
Yeah, we have a plan.
Yeah. We're going to recreate something.
Yes.
Yeah, it's going to happen.
Okay. That's all the questions there.
Yeah.
We're close to the end of time, but let's just show them let's move to the Faiyum. We talked a little bit about the basalt stuff and the we can show you guys some stuff from the Faiyum real quick.
Basalt quarry.
Yeah.
Basalt quarry.
All right, here, you pick what you want to do.
I don't even remember which ones it was.
I think there's still, while you're looking for that, there's definitely an argument that needs to be made by someone who does a podcast, maybe. about the well shaft and the ideas about the discovery of the internal chambers of the pyramid. I've read some stuff on the show before, some articles, some really great articles about people theorizing that like Mamun's hole could not be the first time anybody has ever seen the upper chambers tunneling around. And they make a good case to say that like when the pyramid had its casing stones, it was probably pretty clear where the door was on the north face, because so many people would have known about it. All the pyramids have their entrances on the north. So it wouldn't have been too hard to go along and be like, oh, that rock looks a little different, and poke it around and get down in there. And then the presence of the well shaft would have allowed you to ascend all the way to the Grand Gallery, and then from there all the way to the King's Chamber, Queen's Chamber. Everything would have been open to them. So there is more to tell, and like I don't think that the well shaft is a robber's tunnel, as Russ had pointed out before. It kind of does that same thing like Mamun's tunnel. It just has a beeline for the Grand Gallery. Like, how do you do that?
Yeah, and it literally is made from masonry on the upper
part. Yeah, and but again, this brings up another thing: the presence of this fissure. That they would have begun the biggest chamber in the pyramid right where that fissure begins, because it comes right up from the well shaft.
Yeah.
It's like right there. You're right on top of it when you get into the Grand Gallery. It's just interesting. I think it's part of the design. I think the well shaft is part of the original design of the pyramid.
I do too.
And therefore Mamun's hole is almost unnecessary.
Well, it's
unless he had a different motive and it was digging out.
That's what I suspect as well. I don't think you can randomly just hammer your way into that thing and miraculously hit the junction between the ascending and descending passage.
Yeah.
I think it's a bit more, and then also the size of that passage. It's large.
Mamun's passage.
As if they were like. I mean, you don't have to make it that big. No, it's a lot of work.
It could have been a tiny tunnel, like the one in the subterranean chamber that goes off. It's tiny, but you can get through there. No big deal.
No problem. So why make a large passage like that? You're trying to take something out.
Yeah, and maybe what they took out was from the Queen's Chamber, because
possibly.
I think I haven't measured the passageways, but I know people have said that the box in the King's Chamber was too big to get out.
It's too big to get out of the King's Chamber.
Right, but whatever might have been in the Queen's Chamber may have been small enough to get out.
Yeah, I mean, it might have been.
But you had to get it around the granite plugs. You couldn't take it down the well shaft.
No.
So you had to tunnel
out.
Probably.
Essentially. Yeah. And we just don't know what was in there.
And there's that little alcove.
Stuff that we know there's the alcove. Well, and there was also an excavation done in the Queen's Chamber.
Yeah.
Like the 1800s. You look at the floor in front of the alcove in the Queen's Chamber, and the floor's been ripped up, and I think Matt did a video on it. It's really scanty reports of that they found something, and there's another chamber there, and then they filled it back up again, and it's like you don't really know what happened.
But if we go back to grave goods, like this was a tomb, and the grave goods are what? What are the grave goods, guys? Gold.
Small things. It's like
take it down the robber's tunnel. Don't bother hammering out a massive passageway.
Right.
It had to be something large.
I think so.
And probably,
Yeah, grave goods would be gold, jade, like any jewels, any metals.
Yeah, which you can pound into whatever size it's like.
Yeah,
it'd be easier
weapons, like like you see all the stuff in the Tut in the King Tut exhibition in the museum, and that's the grave goods that you're going to carry out.
Yeah. I mean, the other thing is like just the Grand Gallery. It's a whole other topic. The Grand Gallery is like. There's something else in there. There must have been something. Just the notches in the walls. I mean, that whole passage is.
Yeah.
That chamber is.
And the antechamber leading to the King's Chamber. You're just like, what is this thing? The two separate little things you can stand up in, and it's like, okay.
And there's pieces missing from it, clearly.
Pieces are gone. Yeah. It looks like it was something that's sliding up and down. Yeah.
Another mechanism. This is tube drills are significant in terms of there's a functional purpose for them. You don't make them for decoration.
Yeah.
These holes. There's some mechanism. The front door, there seems to be a mechanism at the antechamber or around the King's Chamber area. And for sure, there seems to have been a mechanism in the Grand Gallery because you have all those slots up and down the walls.
Yep.
I mean,
that they've put lights in now.
Yeah. And then people have speculated about it, but you don't go to the trouble of cutting these slots on the edges of the Grand Gallery and insetting a vertical block right above them to just like strengthen it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy to think. Oh, it's that. It's not true. Look, it's just it's a tomb for a pharaoh, and he changed his mind. All right, they built the queen's chamber. And he said, "You know what? Put my chamber up here, okay, boss."
And not just that,
we'll make this chamber.
Yeah, I want a corbelled chamber, but you need to tilt it up. Right? I mean, there's corbelled chambers all over the place in Egypt, but all of them are flat. And this one is like, let's make one of these, the longest one ever made, and let's also give it at this extreme angle.
And by the way, not for nothing, but the angle of all those passages are exactly half the angle of the outside slope of the pyramid.
Wow.
Yeah. There we go. See, dropping knowledge.
Definitely
over here,
an
folks.
accident.
Yeah.
Just make it up as you go along. Simple.
Yeah, you could use the same argument they used for the bent pyramid. They were building a corbelled chamber, and then they were like, "Crap, it's tilted." Whoops.
Sorry, bro. Yeah.
Well, let's keep it
It's
tilted. It's too hard to change now.
Building that museum for 20 years. I just want to say that. Like Grand Egyptian Museum, 20 years. They still haven't finished it.
Yep.
How long do they say they built the pyramid in?
20, 25 years.
25 to 27 years,
Ed Fu.
I love this question, Ed Fu. Ed Fu texts you later, $10. Tangent question. Brother Kyle, in Epoch is verse 1 about the moon and then verse 2 about Earth? No.
He answered it.
No, I'm just kidding. He says, I respect your decision if you don't want to answer that. I do want to answer this. The first verse is about the moon. It's mistress of the night.
Yep.
Her position is right to basically occult the sun.
Yeah.
And twisting his light.
Reflecting it.
The second verse is about a hypothesis. It's about a possibility, and it's the mistress of life. How did she come here? Was it a serpent in the sky, a comet? Her touch is like ice. She's beautiful to look upon as well as the moon. So it's the
first one's the moon, second one's
life.
Yeah.
But it's just a
comet.
It's not saying that that's how it got here, but it's a great, cool idea. I think it's
good question.
Yeah.
Great question. Thank you very much.
Okay. Last thing. So let's look at some. First thing we'll do here is look at some of the basalt blocks. This is at Abu Gharaib, I think. Is it Abu Sir?
Yeah, that's Abu Sir.
Okay.
Show me a stone, I'll tell you where it is.
It's awesome.
Yeah. So I'm just walking around looking at these. There's big basalt blocks here, and then also floor tiles similar to what we have out in front of the Great Pyramid.
I see what you're doing.
And I'm showing you this fracture. You see this fracture in this? Well, I mentioned this last week when we were also talking with Ben, and then, but look how well these blocks are cut and polished, sort of shaped. But they have these fractures that the builders seem to work with them. You can see some of the tiling here, but look at this tile. Look at this particular tile. The shattered glass-like pieces of the basalt in this floor tile have also been polished. Right? I think this was intrinsic to the material, and they just worked with it. And then this block that's sitting vertically, you can see it's also fractured, and it has like these tiny pieces of basalt stuck in it. But it's still shaped. And I think they shaped it with that stuff in there, and it's over time it is disintegrated. See how that fracture pattern continues into the next block as well. It's really strange. So and sometimes you're looking at this and you think, did this happen after the shaping of the blocks? And then other times I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, no, this is part of the basalt itself, and they just worked with it, and now it's beginning to fall out. This is the weakest part of the block. This is where the blocks split. They would naturally fracture, so when damage is done, this is where they break. But in other places, you can go up and you can look at these shattered sections, and you can't pull those little pieces out. It looks like they should just come right out of there, like they're broken, but they're not. They're glued to the block.
Like a subsequent flow.
Yes,
right?
They look like a subsequent flow of lava that exploited already existing fractures in already cooled basalt, flowed in there and then cooled differently and left all these little shards. But they're still stuck together like, very, very strongly. But nevertheless, it's still the weakest part of the block. Yeah, and you can see it here. Like, sometimes you can pull little pieces of this out of there, or they're just falling out. But most of the time, even though it looks like they should come right out, they don't. They're glued together, held together by molecular bonds in the minerals.
And yet, it's not a recreation. This is or like a restoration effort. That's definitely original.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The restoration efforts are easy to recognize because they look like crap.
Yeah.
Okay. Next video, we'll show you. We were traveling in the Faiyum, going to look at the place where this basalt is supposed to have come from.
Hey, I like what you did there.
And we talked about this last episode as well, but we told you that there's this thing they call the oldest road. And we're looking at it here. We're driving alongside of it, and part of this road is made of basalt and other things and tiles and stuff, but this part is made of petrified wood. Like, think a corduroy road, a log road made from lithified wood.
There's a log.
Yeah.
All of these are logs.
So we're just kind of driving along here, driving alongside what is called in Egypt the oldest road. Look at this. Straight line through the desert of clearly what is petrified wood. Is crazy. And nearby, when we're driving past this, I'm like, what is, they made it out of, at first I'm like, it's wood. But no, it's stone. This petrified wood. And there is a very large petrified forest not too far away from this section. So they were just, I don't know. They're like, well, look at all these stone trees. Let's build the road out of stone trees. But this road leads to the area where there is supposedly some ancient basalt quarries. And you can see way out there in the distance, you see the tops of that mesa, the buttes, and the mesa out there is a thin black line. And that is a basalt layer on the very top of those dunes out in the desert.
The rollers coming. Yes. They used wooden rollers.
Yeah.
That's a good one, Shane.
Terrified wood. Yeah.
Terrified, yeah. So yeah, you can see way out there those two peaks, the very tops, and then the sides of those dunes, or the mountains basically, are very dark colored because that's basalt crumbling off that layer and just over who knows how many years is collapsing down and covering the sides of that limestone with crumbled basalt. So the next video we'll show you is we're climbing up in the end of a canyon up towards one of those slopes, and the basalt face where the quarries are supposed to be. We didn't quite make it, but here you can see it. All these pieces. It would have been great to actually climb all the way up there to the basalt face, to the source where all this stuff has crumbled down from, but we didn't do it. Maybe next time.
How the hell is there wood in that desert? That's your question. It's not. It's a desert now.
Yeah.
But when this was not always desert. And back, how long does it take for wood to petrify like that? Is it?
Oh, it's tens of millions.
Millions of years.
The wood is supposed to be, like it's Eocene, so 30, 40 million years old, I guess.
There was
it's been
a forest
completely replaced by minerals.
desert. Yeah. So it's fallen down and it's completely replaced. And at the petrified forest, you find full trees laying down that are petrified.
Yeah.
That's what they used as building material.
I actually have that video in here too. We're looking at some of the actual trees, the logs of petrified wood when we went to look at the petrified forest.
So at the top of these mountains is a big layer of basalt.
Yeah, not sure if I got a good shot of it in here.
Vase,
basalt, basalt. But yeah, you can see this. This is desert material here. This is just lots and lots of. It's stone-like, but it's like sandstone. It's crumbling, but then there's these piles of basalt all over it, and that's from. Look at the hill across the way. You can see the basalt layer at the very top.
Down. Yeah.
Check out UK Chris, dude.
Oh yeah, there's all UK
all of his
Chris.
Glory right there.
So just wanted to show you guys that we did go out there, and maybe we'll be able to get out there another time and climb up and try to find the quarry faces, because there's supposed to be 4 of them up there.
I think you'll get to.
Yeah.
Is that it?
Yeah, I think we're done. Yeah.
Well, I meant it for the videos. So.
Yes, I just pulled up those 3. I got plenty of other ones on here.
Yeah, so at the top,
we're wrapping it up now.
This was This is supposed, and this is not a controversial thing. That this is it's like the northeastern edge of the Faiyum out in the western desert, and they say that at the very top, and it's just sketchy getting up those hills, and with people below you don't want to kick loose a big, and there's kids and stuff. We didn't climb up there, but
Yeah.
At the top, there's where there's a thick layer of that basalt, there are supposedly saw cuts and quarry marks where they were extracting blocks. And that's why they say, well, this is probably where they got all these big blocks of basalt from. So, yeah. And there's just it's a thin layer. It's like a relatively thin layer, and there's a lot of big blocks of basalt on the sides. It's hard to... they're still mining it. We could hear the mining operation on the other side of the hill going on.
Yeah.
There's hammering and stuff going on.
Think you could get into Egypt with a grappling hook? And a rope. I think they
Maybe when you
feel like just take it apart. Like, what is that? It's a gardening tool.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Well, shall we wrap it up, guys? Thank you, Ben.
Yeah, man. It's
been
great
a
to have
pleasure.
you.
Yeah.
This is great.
Kicked your ass at Frisbee today, though.
Did you, though? I'm just wondering about that.
I'm not sure everybody
I walked
was
out of there with all
properly.
of my discs, and I had to loan you one.
Yeah. Was I counting it improperly?
No, we're just talking
I think
smack.
you might have beat me by a couple of... It was 40-mile-an-hour winds today.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
if you play disc golf, that makes it very interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the
I
three
didn't-
disc is
Frisbees were
heading
lost.
for orbit.
I didn't kick his ass.
Three discs were lost. today.
Yes, I lost my favorite driver for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then he loaned me the worst one he had to make sure that I wouldn't kick his ass too bad.
It's just not a disc that I can throw very well. It doesn't mean it's any bad. Yeah. It was fun, man. I was super happy to get out here. I've been meaning to get out here for some time. So I love seeing the cube finally.
Yeah.
From the inside.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So,
Good stuff.
Ben from UnchartedX, UnchartedX.com. You can find him on YouTube. UnchartedX Live is another channel he has where he does all the stuff he won't put on his professional channel.
That's right.
It's very entertaining, so check that out as well. He has a Discord. We have a Discord. Ben and Kyle and I do lots of tours and events and traveling together, and we're going to be doing more in the future. So check him out for sure if you haven't already. And yes, we appreciate all of you guys out there as well. Everyone who came to the Eclipse event, thank you so much.
Yes.
And if you're wanting to hang out, go to the Cosmic Summit.
Yeah.
We can see you guys there.
We will see you there.
Yeah.
It's going to be a good party and lots of good stuff.
We will.
Can't wait.
Yeah. We love you guys.
Always have.
Always will.
Good night, Adamu.
Get back to work.
Yes.